Is it this?
Those are big ones.
Yeah, if it came in the 17th is the full set with the business.
Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for attending the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. My name is Joan Beely. I'm the chairperson for the commission. I would ask, as I see there are some people attending remotely, that you would mute yourselves. We do have some public hearings, and if you're interested in participating in the public hearing, then at that time, when it's solicited, you can unmute yourself, identify yourself, your name, your address, and then share your comments with the commission. But other than that, please mute yourself so we have a clear recording of the meeting tonight, and we're very respectful here so we don't talk over each other. We make sure that everyone's point is heard. All right, that being said and done, I will say that we have a full commission tonight. So we do have two alternates with it. Yes, we have two alternates with us as well. We have Nita Sabinsky, and we also have Steve Biella Jr. joining via Zoom. So thank you, Steve, for joining in. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And I just ask for everyone to give us just a minute of silence and respect for the officers in Bristol, which lost their lives, and for those who continue to serve for our safety. Thank you. All right, Maureen, do you want to do a roll call? Okay.
June Daly, here. Sandra Lou Millard, here. Diane Joycey,
Here.
Timothy Zigma,
Here.
Ryan Rogan,
Here.
Joan Daly,
Here.
alternate Nikki Sabinsky, here. Alternate Angela Manning,
He's absent.
absent. And alternate Steve Biella Jr.
Here.
You have a full regular member commission.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. All right, first up will be for new business. We have the site plan amendment of Kevin O'Sullivan Auto Drive Sales and Service to complete a two-car garage at 2576 Berlin Turnpike. That's under new business. Do we have anyone here? Yes, sir. Come on up. Please use the podium. Name and address for the record, and we'll go from there.
Kevin O'Sullivan, 21 Apple Tree Hill, New Britain, Connecticut.
Thank you. All right, so
It's really pretty simple and basic. I think we got approved by zoning a couple of years ago. I don't actually remember, but it's been a while anyways. And they put some conditions forth of getting approved for the dealer's license I'm talking about there, not for tonight's business. But when we got approved, it showed the map that we had a footing that had been there for a two-bay garage. But with everything that's happened the last couple of years, we really couldn't even get into the business as the car business has changed. It's a whole new face in the car business. We finally decided to go ahead and build a building, and they had John Massey, the building inspector, come down and look and go through everything. And I was unaware that we even had to go to zoning, because I thought that when it was on the map, that they knew we were building a garage, but they said, no, you still got to go to zoning for it. So we talked to the wetlands commissioner and John, and whoever else it may be. Everything you see on that map is the same map from whatever date it was. You would know more than I was. A couple of years ago when zoning approved for the dealer's license at 2576.
just sort of help me figure out where we are on the Berlin Turnpike.
If you pass, I keep calling it the Hawthorne, but if you pass the Hawthorne on your left, you're not on Tollgate Road.
Yes.
Taking right on Tollgate Road, go through on the first and the second driveway, both driveways.
Okay, so So do you get onto Tollgate Road?
No. I'm on the Berlin Turnpike.
You're on the Berlin Turnpike.
Probably if the light past the Hawthorne, instead of taking a right on Tollgate, just go through and the first and second driveway right inside.
Okay.
One building is a gray garage, it has no signs on whatsoever, and the other one says, main auto of Berlin.
Okay, so you're southbound then on the Berlin Turnpike?
Yes.
All right.
Here we have it up on the screen now.
Okay, yes, please.
It's just north of Worthington Point Road. Some people have traditionally referred to it as one of the Bishop's Garage. There was Wheels and Deals in, right? Wheels and
Yes.
Deals there. At one point, that sign was there for many years, even after they weren't there, I think, on the southbound side, just north of Worthington Point Road. We can zoom back out again, right?
For some reason, I'm still.
Probably because it's a very quiet piece of property, it's not nothing like, I mean, seriously, it's not anything really fancy or special.
Southridge condo entrance is across the street.
Right.
Southridge goes way up the hill. Their entrance is that steep driveway you see across the street. Zoom back out again.
No, I don't.
What might help jog your memory is a couple of years before we bought it, it was, I think Maureen can attest to this, and a lot of people that know the property. It was seriously probably one of the biggest dumps and junkyards in Berlin. We literally hauled 100 cars off the property, 3 trailer trucks, 3 boats that had been there for probably 20 or 30 years. It was a bad, not a nice looking piece of property. Bob made us an offer which I thought we couldn't refuse. Probably should refuse it. But go ahead.
So are you, where you're located, right after your location? I'm sorry. Right after your location, is Silver Lake entrance going down on the left?
No, you're way too far past me. You're way too far past me. Right next to me is an office building that's been pretty much vacant for years. He's got a couple of tenants in there. He's had signs out there trying to sell it, trying to get tenants. I don't even know what the number of that building is, but it's right next to me. And then after that, there's a house and a road, and then Silver Lake's down farther. I'm literally probably 75 feet from Tollgate Road,
And do you
maybe
have
100 feet.
fencing on the sides of your buildings?
Yes,
And
yes.
behind that, you have some automobiles or?
Yes.
Okay, so I went by the right place today.
Yes.
And where are you planning on putting the garage in relation to those
Things
fences?
on the map.
Seems-
When we got approved a couple of years ago, motor vehicle really requires you to have a minimum of 1 bay, 2 bays they like. But we have a 3 bay on one of the dealer's licenses downstairs where Bob Bishop used to be. We have a 3 bay where Louis Preston is Preston Auto, has been there for 28 years, one of our tenants. And so the bay that was there is a very, very small bay. It's not even really usable. So we promised the tenant from day one, we build a new 2-bay garage when things get a little bit better. And so it never got better, but we said we just can go ahead and build it anyways. I wish John's not here, John's the building inspector, because he's been here many, many times, as well as Jim from the Inland Wetlands Commission or anything else. And they looked at it and said it meets all the regs, and he's got the building plan, and he's seen it, he said that's, it was actually already approved until he told me that the zoning, we stopped it about maybe 2 months ago, I guess, I don't know.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Can I explain a little bit?
Yeah.
So, new motor vehicle like this, these 2 properties together, which are all under your same entity now, have been auto locations for many years. And then over a year ago, they went to the zoning board of appeals for new automotive licensing for a used car dealer and repair license. When the licensing changes, they go back to the zoning board of appeals before we can sign off on that state license for that approval. The previous 2 zoning officers ago worked on this. Part of working on it was the gentleman who owns it now working through getting the property cleaned up. So you're seeing an aerial from 2019. The property has been significantly cleaned up since then. So I just want that on the record that they have been working on that. They poured a concrete or showed a concrete pad behind the building that's to the south. On that, if you can, like run your, in that area, and which is shown on the plan that you've gotten in front of you, that the applicant, the owners of the property, thought that when they got that approval, it included the construction of the garage. The construction of that garage is subject to site plan approval, which is under the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission, not the Zoning Board of Appeals that does the location approval. So this is the site plan amendment to allow the garage bay in the back. Immediately behind that, as shown on here, it's a 23.8 by 24 foot square garage extension on the back of the building. The elevation does change, so you're coming in from the back at a lower elevation than you are from the road. And it's just to build the garage that they thought the ZBA approved.
Okay.
So it meets zoning setbacks, it's subject to, but the pad itself didn't require approval because it's like pavement, it doesn't require approval.
All right, so the two buildings that I'm looking at, Maureen, are they both part of this application?
No, because they're two separate properties.
Okay, so which
So
property,
it's it's that property right there,
that's the property we're discussing right now?
yes.
And it's not,
And it was the one that you might remember being Wheels and the
Unbelievable wheels and deals.
Wheels and Deals, it was up like a bike,
yeah,
motorcycle shop, I think.
It wasn't a good place.
At one point, and so that's just trying to give everybody a sense of what it was.
okay, and all of that has been cleaned up, you said?
I think he should
As
address
far as the
how
cars that we're
much of it, but they have created a parking plan and substantially cleaned up in the rear, and I believe removed materials from a property at the north from going on to not their property.
If that picture you said is from 2019,
19,
I don't even, that's right when we bought it, I think.
right,
Wow, we
that's
bought
what,
it.
we've been working on
It is
enforcement with them.
significantly different than what it was. There's room now to park another 100 cars in the back if you wanted, but that's not our business.
That's not what your intention.
No, we could do that, we could have done that now, once it's done, it's not at all. No. I actually have the dealer's license in the back at 20, they just changed the address, it was 2560.5. They changed it to 2560 because they don't have halves in Berlin anymore. And motor vehicle still had its Willow Cross Parkway. But to go back to what Maureen said before, the dealer's license has been there and the sales tax certificate has been there since 1967. It's been there for a real long time.
Commission questions? Anyone have any questions? Okay, Diane, go.
Just one question, has any of the construction started already?
We have a partner of mine that works mostly in Maine, who's bought a motel up there. And through a miscommunication, when John knows all about, the guy who came down here to, get a building permit, or at least we were told that, started building it. And then I found that it didn't have a building, because John called me, and I says, come on over, meet the builder, I mean. And he said, have him come on down and sign all the papers, everything else. So I called him up and I was with John. I said, Alex, should I get down and sign the papers? He goes, no, I don't want to do this job. And that was it. We walked off the job and that was the end of it. So we stopped right when John said stop. Only literally some 2x4s and plywood wall and stuff.
Now, your existing building, you have the existing and proposed garage.
Right.
So all your work will be done in back through the proposed garage.
Yes,
And your existing building will serve what purpose?
that's what it does now. That's the used car office for Maine Auto of Berlin.
Okay,
We
and
want to get the dealers.
as far as storage of cars,
No,
will they, okay, so,
we don't store cars for anybody. It's, you sell it. We also have a policy at my age, I've done this for a long time. I started in October 1979. That if you don't turn the key, if you put a key in the car that's run, it gets junked. Just this week alone, we sent 8 cars to Brookside Salvage. We crushed cars that you would be stunned because they don't run, there's transmissions and motors. We don't even do motor jobs there. We don't do jobs for the public. We only do our own stuff and that's it.
Dylan, if you actually pull up on Google Maps, they did a recent satellite photo upgrade and you can see just how much he has cleaned up the property with him. So I just pulled it up quick on my phone. It is,
So that's what we were just pulling out, was the street view to give you guys the street view
It's
of
significant.
where it was. And there you can, I knew we had the aerial map with the pad, you can see the pad behind.
So,
And those, see those big, the four big white things? Those are all white city buses that are all sold and gone. I had 15 of them, and I sold them all over the United States of America. I basically don't even do cars myself. I do weird stuff. I got a beautiful fire truck down there now from West Hartford, a big expensive fire truck. And I got one more bus left and that kind of stuff.
Go ahead, Brian.
so Maureen, you said the setbacks are all good, and I mean, do you have any concerns?
I do not. It's always in the already developed area of the site, so it does require.
Okay.
Planning zoning commission approval. It is in the rear, so the Berlin Turnpike design guidelines are, not a factor.
All right. Well, on that note, then I'll make the motion to approve the site plan application.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rogan. Oh, wait, oops. Do we have a second? We have a second for discussion. Okay, Mr. Zigma, you have an initial question?
Yes, I got a couple questions. Concrete retaining walls out there. We know how high those retaining walls are. There's a
They
fire-
were the level of the actual parking lot. They're not concrete walls, they're not block walls.
Okay, but they're block walls, but how high is how many blocks high?
Say it again now, what's your question?
I mean, how high is the wall?
I don't know,
Because
That's an existing condition, so we didn't analyze it.
Okay, because
And further,
I'm just wondering if it's a higher than what's required for retaining wall and just at the engineering wall. That's all. I'm asking. The other thing is that 5-foot chain link fence on top of the wall.
what's the question again?
Is there a 5 foot
Yes.
chain link fence on top of the wall?
Yes, and the guardrail in front of it to make sure that there's never a mishap, someone flying over the curb.
can you see that clearly when it's zoomed in more?
Yep. The island out in front, that is just a grass island,
Yes,
curved grass island, that's existing.
and I swapped the Louis, see the gray building to your right there?
Yeah,
We swapped with Louis and, clean it up every other time. He does it one time, we do it another time.
okay. Well, and on this plan, I see 2 sets of parking places in the front of the building. Those cars are backed up against the building, just about. And then there's another set of cars, parking places at the green. I don't see that space for car spaces. And
Say
then
that again, you see cars parked at the green?
there's cars backed up to the
Correct.
building right now. And then you have the green island in the front.
Right.
But on this drawing, there is parking places along that green island.
Well, I'm glad you said that because when we got the approval for this, apparently, the state owns that island.
Right.
And they said requirements for the state is you park 15 feet past the state property. So probably the only dealer, if you look at some other dealers around Berlin, you'll see they're parked right to the grass or even sometimes on the grass. They asked that we park back, so we moved the cars and parked back and they went like that since they got approval.
That's not a problem for me, you're backing up the car because now it's further away from the turnpike. But these parking places are up next to the green, they should be eliminated on the map. Because,
Get an updated map.
they should
that
be
shows
updated
the
map,
park.
get rid of the parking
It
places there.
complies with the state.
And the gravel area in the back, I'm just looking at a map, because gravel area in the back is into the upland review area. If that gravel's gonna be taken out of that review upland area.
I believe the wetlands was satisfied with the plan.
Is Jim the wetlands guy?
Yes.
He's been there more than 2 or 3
Because
times.
this was all within the existing conditions.
Okay.
Because he did look at this plan. He has also been involved with the enforcement with regard to getting the property cleaned up back a year and a half ago.
So
And what
it's all been
was being
reviewed by Jim.
And we'll make sure that he's satisfied. He is away this week, so, but I can confirm that prior to
Okay.
a final.
The only thing I see on here is that the
Okay.
map should reflect the park place is missing, should be eliminated from one green. And that retaining wall to be looked at to make sure it's in our regulations.
As far as the retaining wall goes, I believe that's an existing condition and wouldn't be subject to a newer regulation unless they're gonna touch it, but we'll check with the building inspector to make sure that he's satisfied with the conditions as they are,
Honestly, comments to review.
because they're
No
not
problem.
touching it.
So we'll have to amend the motion then, because we have a motion on the floor to approve, so now we have conditions to that motion, so are you okay with amending your motion?
I will amend my motion to include an updated parking plan to meet the requirements of the state DOT, which is to be filed with our planning and zoning department.
Okay, and then also, something with the cuts, right? You want to make
Staff
sure that.
review.
I just staff review on the retaining wall.
Of the retaining wall in the occupancy review area prior to sign off on the occupancy for the building.
Yes, I will amend my motion to
Okay,
include those.
okay, excellent, thank you, Brian. And so will you amend the second?
I was second.
Yes, so you will amend it? All right, so any further discussion on this item? So all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, thank you, Steve. So moved. All right, thank you. Good luck. He was in favor. Steve Byle.
That was unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I missed that.
No, that's okay. Moving on to the schedule of public hearings. First item to schedule would be a special permit site plan application from Peter Lamont for Colvest Kensington LLC for the subdivision of an existing retail building to create 2 commercial spaces and a drive-through lane at 1041 to 1055 Arlington Avenue. The suggested date is November 17th.
Make a motion to schedule public hearing for November 17th.
Thank you, Diane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zigma. Further discussion on that item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Steve. So moved. Item B, special permit site plan application. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. It's going to be Sahakar Nagar Deo Nakar, AIA NSN Architect LLC for interior renovations of an existing unoccupied 1,777 square foot space for a takeout food facility. No exterior renovations. This is also with the suggested date of November 3rd.
Make a motion to schedule public hearing for November 3rd.
November 3rd. Thank you, Diane. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second is by Mr. Rogan. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So
Just a question, there's no address on that.
no address for,
Oh, so sorry about that.
yes, that's good catch. And where is this person?
We're gonna find it in 1 second.
Okay,
Oh, right, it's in Brickyard Plaza, 225 Berlin Turnpike. And it is in the auxiliary building. I don't remember what we call it, but the auxiliary building, not the building that Home Depot is in, but the other plaza that's on the same site.
okay.
So it's one of the tenant spaces. in that
25 is it?
Yeah,
Which is 225.
that's where the UPS was, right? Or is?
There, I believe there's a UPS office
Yeah,
there.
it's
The
like-
baby store was there for a while. There's a
Groceries.
workout place, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, all right, okay. My head's down. Okay, moving on to the public here for a second. This is a quiz show.
I'm sorry, it's it really is, staff is not in the best condition this week. I'm so sorry for that.
No, all right. We're gonna move into public hearings, but Maureen, did you have something to tell us about one of the applicants?
I do,
Okay.
so like I said, staff is disjointed due to illness this week.
Okay,
We do have a flash drive coming for the plans it was submitted to our office. I wasn't able to locate it on the Little House Living so that we can share everything on the screen so the engineer went back to his office to get that. And he will be here shortly, as far as that one goes. 550 and 554 Berlin, 550 to 554 Berlin Turnpike were both continued at the last meeting to the next meeting, and no testimony was scheduled to be heard this evening. And the application E, the re-subdivision of Tom Kokomo Brothers for 2 lots at 44 Van Decker Lane has been postponed at the request of the applicant.
Okay, so just so I'm on board with you, so under public hearings, item B and C are going to be tabled.
Right, they already were at the last meeting.
Yeah.
They're noticed that way, doesn't keep them on the agenda
Yeah.
to keep open hearings on the agenda.
Okay,
But you can see in the,
I'll make a motion to, Little House Living to go to the end of the agenda.
okay, so you're moving Little House to the end of the agenda,
Before old
well, yeah,
Before old business.
yeah.
Well,
Well, that will.
it is now.
Well, exactly. So because we're in the public hearing, did you have a call for the public hearing that you had to read? You may not, because these may be all continued.
they're new.
Quantum of Berlin, I should not have.
Do
it
we have a
in front of me.
quantum of Berlin public hearing? Did you call? No, that's okay, that's why
Oh,
we're.
good.
Brandon's a
Hey, listen, we are just-
space.
We are just pitching in here and trying to keep things straight
Now
and
you,
moving in a
now you
positive
know what
direction.
Fran does, huh?
Yeah, I know. So now you can apply for franchise. All right, so go ahead with the call, the public hearing, Brian, thank you.
Town of Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission notice of public hearings. The Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at its regular meeting on Thursday, October 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Town Council Chambers, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Kennington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. Interested parties may join the meeting and participate in the public hearing in person or remotely as provided below. A, special permit / site plan application of Quantum of Berlin 2 LLC for proposed indoor sports complex at 0 Fort Rod Road, MBL 15-1-90-6-2 in the PI2 zone. B, re-subdivision of Tom Kokomo Brothers for 2 lots at 44 Randeckers Lane, MBL 23-3-3-5 in the R15 zone. The property is owned by Kokomo 2 LLC. That one has been postponed. The applications and related meeting materials are available at the Planning and Zoning Department, Berlin Town Hall, 240 Kennington Road, Berlin, Connecticut. Dated this 6th day of October 2022 at Berlin, Connecticut. Brian Rogan, Secretary, Berlin and Planning and Zoning Commission. The Britain Herald classified advertising / legal notices, date of publication, Saturday, October 8th, 2022, and Monday, October 17th, 2022.
Thank you, Brian. So we're gonna go with the special site plan, the special permit site plan application for Quantum of Berlin to LLC for a proposed indoor sports complex at 0 Fort Rod Road, MBL 15-1-90-6-2 in the PI2 zone. Okay. Good evening. How are you today?
Well, thank you.
All right, good. Lori, can you maybe have Dylan House? We're just gonna move that up a little bit for the commission. I mean, I'm not sure the public catches it, but
We're gonna bring it up on the screen regardless.
yeah.
Just provided us with a flashlight of it to bring on the screen.
All right, excellent, thank you. Now I'm on to my notes. Okay, everyone's done? All right, good evening. Okay, so what have we got?
Hello, my name is John Wagenlight. I'm a principal of the LRC Group. Our address is 160 West Street, Suite E in Cromwell, Connecticut. I'm here this evening with the applicant owner who just walked in the door, William Coombs, here to introduce a proposed sports facility building located in front of the 504 Rod Road here in town. Parcel in question is a 3.02 acre parcel that was originally subdivided from the overall 504 Rod parcel 12 years ago or so. And in the past, that parcel was further subdivided, and this is a sheet metal building or business that's in now, right on the front when you drive in on the right-hand side. Excuse me. And the parcel is located in a PI-2 zoning district, and that surrounds the property on three sides: the north, the south, and on the west. And on the east side, there's a residential R21 zone located across Fort Rod Road. Property contains bituminous concrete driveway on the north side for access to 500 and for the sheet metal business. Grass lawn area in the back, which is this area that I'm kind of tracing out is all lawn in the back, and then in the front to the road is wooded. Actually, no, I have a pointer somewhere.
All right.
If you don't mind.
Feel free to see if you use it. When I moved it, I forgot that you didn't have the partitions between you, and in order to see through the partitions, it used to have to be further this way. I forgot they were gone.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's our?
Where's our mayor?
There we go.
Are they in?
Computers for planning and zoning would be really nice to avoid, just see if they're up here.
So this area in here that I'm kind of tracing out is a lawn area that's maintained, and this area in here is existing woods. Property generally slopes from the southeast to the northwest. There is a perforated drainage that was installed and that's buried in an existing swale that I'm sort of tracing out here. It crosses and discharges into a small little water management area on the sheet metal property. There's no inland wetlands located on this 3-acre parcel. Property is located in a zone X, areas to be determined outside the 100-year flood. The soils generally are made up of holyoke with rock outcrop. There's a lot of rock in this general area. Endorphins, which is a disturbed type soil. And that all that is from the U.S. Department of Agricultural Natural Resources survey. What we are proposing to construct a 22,500 square foot sports complex building with the option of adding another 6,600 square feet at a later date. We have a parking area, parking for 82 parking spaces for tenant access. We're proposing a loop driveway to go all the way around. And we're proposing to construct on-site stormwater management for the parcel to attenuate any increase in runoff. Stormwater runoff of the proposed development will be handled on-site. Stormwater runoff from the parking area will sheet flow to proposed catch basins, which are done on this one. number 7. Easier to point out on that. You can see sheet flow into the catch basins in the front, and it'll all eventually end up on the north side in a stormwater management area, which is, oh, it doesn't point. Yep, oh, thank you. And that's for the stormwater that would come on the east side and the south and west side will eventually all flow into there. Roof runoff, we're proposing to use dry wells adjacent to the building. The dry wells are proposed as recommended as part of the low impact development design criteria. And yep, there's circle one there, and in the northwest corner as well. With overflow to, as you can see, the one in the southwest corner. It will overflow, or it fills up and will overflow and go into the system that needs. The attenuated flow from the stormwater management area shall be discharged through existing pipes on the north side of the property. Flow continues through the pipe and discharges at the same location as the existing flow. What that means is there's, right in that area, that's the area where I mentioned earlier, there's an existing perforated pipe. Well, that's going to be removed, and we're actually going to tie back into it where that pipe at the northeast corner of the stormwater management area. That's going to go and tie, yep, and that's going to go underneath the road and tie into the existing storm pipe that's buried there now in a swale. And the sizing for this is to include for the potential building expansion as well. So if the owner decides to expand, we do not need to touch the stormwater management system. They are designed, they will not overtop. And it will attenuate the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. The dry well systems have been designed assuming infiltration into the underlying soils based on permeability testing that was conducted on the site. Proposed stormwater management system has been designed in consideration for the need to, 1, meet applicable design criteria set forth by the town of Berlin and meet any additional design requirements set forth by the town engineer and or the Connecticut DEP. Site lighting. We are proposing a mixture of freestanding and built-in mounted forward throw full cutoff type 4 LED fixtures that will comply with dark sky requirements. Our photometrics plan shows we are not bleeding onto any of the neighbor's property. And it might be number 11. Just so you are aware that the plans that you have, we actually ended up changing some of them quite a bit today based on comments that we were receiving yesterday and today from staff. So I'll go through and highlight those in a minute. Site features, we are proposing a retaining wall, a 230-foot block retaining wall that's going to go, I'm kind of tracing it up here. Because this is quite a bit higher here. This is probably elevation about 110 at this point out in the road. And the building is at proposed at elevation 73. So we start off with the retaining wall being at, being flush, going up to, I believe, 14 feet here and 16 or 17 feet at this corner, and then working its way down to flush here. We are going to have two entrances coming in to allow for ingress, egress, and circulation. monolithic sidewalks, 5-foot sidewalks we're proposing going around. Oh, and because this is going to be, used as a sports complex, and it's a requirement, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, but let me know that there is a reserved parking spot right here for emergency vehicles, like I guess an ambulance if they have, yeah, an emergency during events, during like, this would be mostly basketball, if I'm not mistaken. We are proposing 82 parking spaces with 4 reserved for handicap out in front. Landscaping is to include a mixture of trees, shrubs. Trees would be shade low, red maple, birch, dogwood, sweet gum, pear, and linden. Shrubs, inkberry, hydrangea, rose of Sharon, red cedar, mountain laurel, bayberry, fragrant sumac, and yews. I don't think you. Picture, I forgot to give it to you. But I can hand it out if that's possible.
What's it up?
This is,
And you certainly can.
I want to explain some of the existing foliage or
Street
existing.
view, so we'll bring up the street view, but you can
Oh,
pass
okay.
that out and we'll stamp it as submitted during the meeting.
It's actually the last page. Go to street view, go to the, yeah, that right there is perfect. Okay, good, thank you. The view that you're seeing is fairly similar to the last page. And what that is, we're standing right here at the entrance and looking south down Fore Rod Road. Trying to explain the existing trees that are out there. This general area that I'm kind of highlighting is, if you look on the, what's actually being circled now on the, are the taller trees, there's probably 30, 40 feet width of a fairly substantial deciduous trees that are 50, 60 feet high, well mature. And then as you go a little bit west, you'll see on that, you'll see where it kind of drops off. Actually, you can go back to that view. Yeah, can you go back to the north, maybe just a hair more? Sure. Yeah. What happens behind those tall trees, right in the back, they actually kind of disappear and they go into 15, 20 foot high cedars and trees. And I believe what happens that the rock in there comes up too shallow and it's not allowing trees to, it's probably more of a perch water table. And between the edge of the road and that 40 feet, there's probably substantial amount of topsoil where you can actually see the taller trees. And what we're proposing is saving those trees where we can, which is this area that I'm highlighting now. In this area, right in here. But this area here, we're going to need to cut the slope down. This is a 2-to-1 slope to the top of the retaining wall. And where we go up to the street line, we're proposing to plant mountain laurel and red cedar to replace the buffer that's going to be lost in that area. In that area, give you a little better. If you're familiar with, if you're going on Fort Rod Road, there's probably a 200-foot section of sidewalk. And that where the grading comes up to the street line is near the south end of that sidewalk. And we're proposing probably planting, it's probably about 100 feet of, or 75 to 100 feet of the cedar and whatnot to fill in that, to create that buffer. Rest of the site, we're, like I said, we're proposing. And also based on when we were here a couple months ago for 500 fluoride for some of the for site plan improvements that they were doing. Along here, we were proposing, I believe they were pairs. So what we're doing, we're actually replacing those and probably repositioning those trees that were approved back in July, June, somewhere in there. And also in that approval, there are trees that are proposed on the 500 road parcel along. So there would be a buffer between the two parking plantings on 500 Fort Rod.
Question.
Yes, Mr. Zuma, go ahead.
You brought up the subject of the sidewalks that are on that road right now, coming up to this property. And there's sidewalks on the opposite side of the road, or houses were built on the opposite side of the road, across the street from this property.
Correct.
This is within a mile of the school, the backyard, basically, of McGee School. So sidewalks are very important on this road to us. And the missing part of the puzzle is this piece. And the other side of the road has a couple sections too missing. I know on this piece, it'd be kind of hard for you to put a sidewalk on this piece because the elevation changed next to the road, I think.
Yeah, it drops off fairly substantially.
It drops off pretty substantial. And, you know, I'm just questioning, the sidewalks are basically, my role here to be in this area and not have any expense to build sidewalks. Probably have to do monolithic 4 right there on that sidewalks alongside of the road in order to not go too far off the property and hit that bank. And what I'm looking to see if you would maybe be interested to instead of putting sidewalks on this property, complete some of the holes on the other side of the street. I don't know, in lieu of the
Chairman, can I respond to that?
Sure
Make
can.
a comment with regard to it. So in researching this, and one of my comments is that, so this parcel was subdivided off of 500 Fort Rod in 2008. One of the conditions of approval of that application was that sidewalks be installed on the opposite side of the street. I recall from early meetings on the applications in this area that was to happen when the parcel got developed, which is what this is.
which is not.
Although that's not exactly the way it reads when I did a preliminary review of the approval of that subdivision, but it does say that they are to be installed. At this time would therefore be the appropriate time. This is the, that section of sidewalks is included in desired sidewalks in the sidewalk plan that's been developed since that time regardless,
Yeah.
and is a missing link. So, it's my recommendation in my staff comments that the, sidewalk should be required as part of this subdivision, this application, even though it's a reiteration of the requirement from 2008.
whatever the distance of this particular lot is, that's about the sidewalks can be put on the other side.
Yeah,
And it's a less of an expense to them to do that because of the elevations on that side.
that's why they were desired on the opposite side of the
Right.
street at that time. And there are spaces between installed sidewalks on the opposite side of the street. So it is kind of a fill in the blank sectioning of what is necessary.
Yeah, I think the concern was that towards the center of town, Ford Road, there is sidewalks down there and a couple larger homes, developments down there. And children would be walking to the school on that side of the road, so that's the reason why.
I do know that town staff did share a plan of sidewalks designed on that side tying in to this existing sidewalk. We're at that meeting with the town.
I mean, I would just think,
Jim shared with
I would just think that.
So the town had,
Footage.
in that the property hadn't been developed there, it's shown as part of that connectivity. At the same time, it's been financially, it's been removed from that connectivity with the money we have. So therefore, the avenue doing it, in compliance with that 2008 approval would be my recommendation.
Yeah, you know.
It's no longer in the sidewalk plan for the
I-
town to install.
I wouldn't think of you that put more sidewalks in than whatever the frontage is, you know, and the less expensive, putting it on the opposite side of the road, would be, more less expensive to them. And I think it's a good trade for the developer.
Okay, I will discuss it with him.
So you can see their sidewalk a little bit on the opposite side. I think that's where it is, but there are also additional gaps.
So I have a couple questions.
Okay.
First, do you have a traffic study to show how the impact of, all these visitors would affect Four Rod Road?
No, but that's what I gave you. Sure.
My name's Bill Coons. I'm the property owner. I only had one because I had to run around and get this. It's not a formal traffic study, but the renter is Vail Basketball. They're in Middletown, so they're right on the Cromwell Middletown line. And if you go to their facility, they have the same amount of parking at their place. And never is more than half that parking lot there filled.
I wasn't asking about the parking lot itself, more as the traffic that this facility will generate on Four Rod Road.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say was, just from a logic standpoint, from sitting there in the parking lot at Vail Basketball in Middletown, it's by the Napa off of 3. And
Yeah.
the traffic is kind of pickup traffic. It kind of circles for mothers and fathers picking up their kids. You don't see a lot of people parking there. So maybe there's 30 or 40 cars parking and then they pick up the kids during every, call it hour cycle.
And what I'm asking, even those cars, we're still talking about what the traffic is on the road currently versus.
Oh, I'm
the
sorry. I
impact.
didn't realize. I thought you were asking the traffic that was projected for the business.
Well, yes, as in relationship to the traffic that's already on the road, to figure out how we can expect the parents dropping off their kids, picking them up, is going to have as an overall impact on Four Rod Road.
Sure, I wouldn't know from the existing traffic. All I could tell you is from the traffic that comes there, the parking seemed to be very adequate, and the way this was designed was in conjunction with the renter for those reasons.
Can I ask a question before you go, Mr. Coon?
Oh, of course.
This is a sports complex, but I've just heard about basketball. So are we saying this is just an indoor basketball court, basically?
It is an indoor
So
basketball.
there's
court.
no other sports that would be played there?
There's not projected to be any other sports, but Vail does offer a big soccer program. And this facility is specifically for basketball and basketball courts.
Mhm.
But the owner of Vail has said that, you know, for some reason basketball has issues and there's a problem and the business is not doing well. The soccer business that they have is just very robust. And, you know, maybe he has to take down one of the basketball courts and teaches soccer there as well. So that's why I called it a sports facility. But it's mainly projected to be basketball. The whole place will be outfitted with 3 basketball courts. There will be no other sport event.
Okay, thank you. And I think Ms. Daly had a question. I'll go back to you, Brian.
Actually, I think that's maybe 2 questions. And so you said you have a renter, so is it not open to public? Or is it open to public to come in and utilize, pick up games and things?
Vail is the single tenant occupied, so their business is doing tournaments, teaching kids how to play basketball. If you go to their website, Vail Basketball or Vail Sports, it says all the stuff they do and all the programs that they offer. If you're, know people in Cromwell or Middletown, they're a pretty big name there and they do a lot of stuff with youth programs.
Just to reiterate, you're only coming in for that one building, not the shown addition at this time.
Exactly. Now, that was another request of Vail, because if the business does really well, then maybe at another time, we would build. the other part.
Why I'm asking that is that, you know, some subdivisions or some buildings like this, they do it in phases. Okay, I mean, you know, maybe it should be the second phase. That still gives you the option, but, you know, bring it in as one package with second phase. And it's, shows the whole thing at one time that way, you know, by square footage, how many park places you have and everything else calculated by both square footage of both buildings.
It was my impression we were coming in as the whole package.
Yeah.
But we were only intended to build the 22,000 at this time. Because that's
Okay.
all that was
Because
designed.
the plan I have here only shows the one building.
One building,
It doesn't show the other,
it doesn't show the second
that
phase,
mustardy kind of color.
second building.
So
I think that was in our summary report, but you're correct. I don't think it was on the plan, but it was in the summary report. That was it was the engineering summary report for the future. I don't think you'll see it on your desk, so.
yeah,
You know, well, roof phase and drainage calculations and everything else, it's different because you have more thorough services of the building, you know, and like know if all the water will flow and be okay going down to the brook. And, you know, it just gives us a better picture of the whole project, future project even, that, you know, I think it's a good thing for the town from that point.
I think we designed it that way, John.
Yes.
So just let them, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's my bad. I did that.
all right,
The
thank you, Lauren.
stormwater management's all based on the full, the 22,000 plus the 6,600 build out. for-
Okay, I think Mr. Rogan had one additional question before we go on.
I had a couple of questions actually. First, I was wondering about what are the hours of this facility going to be?
Sure, a lot of it's the weekend. And then it's kind of after school programs and things of that nature.
How early?
And summer. What?
How early the
Well,
open?
you have it-
We'll get to the public in a bit.
I think that was actually part of Mr. Rogan's question.
Yeah, so I'm basically wondering, you know, you give me more defined set of hours, it's going from like 2 to 7, 2 to 9.
I don't know, I didn't ask, I asked the gentleman who's running the business.
Yeah.
And he said the weekends And after-school programs are most of the volume of the business, unless it's the summer.
Yeah, most after-school programs are like till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely need hours, that's for sure, hours of operation. Anything else? I think you had some.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at this and it's just a footprint. When I'm considering this, really, it would be nice to have like a visual rendering of what the aesthetics of the building would look like a, almost like a street view, like an architectural, that would really help me a lot. And what is my other couple questions is I know that 4 rod is lower. What is the building height going to be? Because I know some of these sports complexes can get up there in height.
Sure, it's 24 feet high on the walls, and then the peak to roof is 27. So it'll be 27 at the absolute peak.
Okay.
So it almost sits in the gully area
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It's 24 feet
of the
base
wall.
to walls. Okay,
Yep, and then the peak of the roof would be as high as 27.
all right, 27 feet.
And it is a steel prefab building. Not kind of like this, the steel building that's next door of that manufacturer.
Complete sheet metal, I believe he's referring to.
Okay,
New building next
Miller, did you have anything? Did you have any questions at this time? Okay, all right.
I would have one more.
So,
Yeah,
before we go to
Little bit
the
of-
public,
yeah.
and we'll jump into this. Okay.
Again, with the building renderings or whatever, if you could bring that in, that'd be great. Because of the lower level from 4 Rod Road, mechanicals on the roof or whatever, are they going to be covered, screened? I don't know how you're going to do that on the building.
That area right here is reserved for mechanicals. It's going to be screened in with the fence and plantings around that area. That was right here. And then over here is the screened in dumpster area. Screened with the fence around and plantings. Forgot to mention that on top, on the back side of the retaining wall, we are proposing a, I think 6-foot chain link fence or safety fence that will run the length of the wall.
Fully engineered.
Yes, it'll need.
Or
it'll get-
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Proposing interlock wall.
Okay.
One other thing I should point out is, in order to meet the building coverage requirement for the full build out, is a lot line, we're proposing also a lot line modification where we would need to take probably about 10 additional feet on the south side of of this parcel in here, of 500 4 rod. For meeting the full building coverage requirements. And that's just to meet the additional 6,600 square feet addition.
I think Commissioner Miller had a question. Sandra?
Yes, just as a point, I went out to the Vale Sports Club in Middletown, and social hours being from 9 AM to 11 PM every night.
9 to 11,
Yes.
9 AM.
So Saturdays and Sundays, they're open up at 7 AM.
And do they run till 11 PM? On
Those are
Saturday
your
and Sunday?
hours.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Thank you for that. And if we have, is there any more with your presentation? Because I know we're in public hearing, so I want to make sure I get to the staff and also to the public.
Well, there was some comments that I received yesterday and today.
Uh-huh.
Just in one of the big changes on the plans that's in front of you. We actually shifted the building back a little bit, and originally we had a 6-foot sidewalk here where the sidewalk would be butting up against the building. We changed that to a 5-foot sidewalk and put a 5-foot area in here for landscaping here. along there and in the back. And also on the plans, they were asking where some of the services would be, such as sanitary, water, and electrical, and we're proposing water coming right in off of Fort Rod Road, the water that's actually, water in this area is probably a foot or two off the edge of pavement. So we're just gonna tie it in right here. And gas, electric, and sewer tying into the sewer. The sewer line does not continue up Fort Rod according to the town records that we have. It ends right. Yeah, I believe right here.
That's what you have to ask on the plan, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. That's where it ends, and then actually, I think it goes, it kind of veers and goes off the road on the east side of Fort Rod, and I think it services two houses, the first two residents across the street. So we're proposing a tying into this manhole, which I believe is buried in the under pavement, and tying it into the near the northeast corner of the proposed building. And electric coming off of a pole going underground, and gas coming in off the gas in the street and tying into, this is the area I believe of the mechanical room inside the building.
Okay. All right, Maureen, you have something before we go to the public?
I would like to clarify the traffic study information for, so the proposed building without the second phase is under 25,000 square feet and under the thresholds requiring or putting it in the category of high traffic generators, which is 100 parking spaces or 25,000 square feet. This, just want to make sure. If they put the addition on, they then go over the 25,000 square feet. So my recommendation, or you can ask for a traffic study if you feel like that that's something under the purview of the commission. So, but if you want to look at the application in phases where they'd have to come back, if they were to go over the 25,000 square feet, that would be one way the commission could deal with it, or ask for the traffic study because it will be over the 25,000 square feet. So if you are looking to approve both phases at this time, or a condition on that.
All right, Brian, did you want one quick?
Yeah, just my thoughts on that. Personally, I would like to see a traffic study, mostly the point of the drop off and pick up, because now we doubling the traffic as parents drop off and pick up. So it might be 85 spaces, but it's twice the amount of car traffic, rather just someone showing up, sitting there, using the facility and leaving.
All right, we are in, is there something, June, that you have your?
No, I was just gonna support his comment. I thought I read in the paperwork, as I looked over it today, maybe 200 at most per day, or maybe 100 per day parked. So I think that would be a logical thing that seems helpful, maybe for that person.
All right, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
We're gonna move to the public hearing, which means that we will take testimony from those folks who want to participate. All I ask is that you please use the podium and the microphone, state your name and your address, and then share your comments regarding this application with the commission, okay? So here's your time to participate. So, sir, I know that you're eager to.
Yeah, I can.
No, okay, all right, you came all this way, you waited all this long,
Yeah.
all right, okay. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, this is Jay, I live in 503 Quran, just across street from where this supposed to be. My big concern is the traffic. Actually, he or asked several times, glad you asked for this. Because if you, our entrance is just facing that, this place, and if you look on the south, which is the left side, there's a hill, but not big. But they're big enough, if you sit in the, our driveway, you could not see the traffic come to the top of the hill. And then the oncoming traffic wouldn't see our driveway. Although that's a 25 miles per hour limit, but no one really drive 25 per hour, they drive 40, 50. And right now, you see that behind this, there's a manufacturer, everything. So it's the traffic already cause out a lot of trouble, especially in wintertime, because they have a lot of big trucks that couldn't stop. They just continue going. And then wintertime, especially after snow. So we try to get out, and if they come, and we just don't know where to go, because that's a really, they come really fast and we start very slow. So if traffic is, that's a really our big concern. So, yeah. And on the other hand, I know we're on the cross street, we have a manufacturer, but again, when they build a lot of things like this, our value of the house is come down. So I ask the committee just consider this. It's for us, it's value of the house is a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah, I think it's everyone's investment.
right.
Everyone has their own investment and we try to just
Exactly.
guard
We
against having.
just are trying to matter,
Yeah.
sweat is in there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your thoughts. Anyone else from the public who wants to address the commission? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Antonio Lucero, and basically, we're right, I drive with Jay's, come right out here. I'm 519 Florida Road. So when I come out onto the street, as he says, there's a lot of traffic coming down.
Yeah.
They fly over that hill. They just fly down, and it's gonna be till 11 o'clock at night. I have to plow my driveway there, and I know how dangerous that is. People just fly down there. That's really one of my major concerns, but also the aesthetics of it. I'm gonna be coming out of my driveway and facing the building now. As it is, this building here, the lighting here affects me and him. We never had the lighting come up to that hill up here in that front yard. Since this sheet metal factory's there, the front of our house is all illuminated up there. The lights are pointed out, but we're still illuminated. His more than mine. And them eliminating all this here, in the summer, it's gonna look all right, but in the winter, it's gonna, I'm gonna have traffic here, people parking here. Basketball court, are the windows gonna be all closed? Windows all
Is that
closed?
what-
Yes.
Is that a question of the applicant? Okay,
Yeah.
So
Windows all closed?
any response is positive, okay.
Because McGee's behind us.
All right, make sure that you direct
sorry.
your, no, well, we understand your concerns, you
Mhm.
direct it to the commission, and then we'll get a response from the
Okay.
applicant. Thank you.
My reason for that is because we have McGee behind us. They play sports inside, and it's Sunday morning or evening or something. First of all, they have to get to shut off the PA, and when they're inside the gym, we hear the ball bouncing up there constantly, all the time, never mind the lights from the course and everything. And that's gonna create a lot of noise for us. Everything just echoes up there. This guy's cutting sheet metal. We hear it up there. Big time, big time. These guys back here are painting the roof or whatever with the radio. I can make out word for word on the radio up there. I'm very concerned the way this building is facing the street, that we're gonna get screwed by all the noise and all the traffic. Never mind, like he said, the concern about the driveway, everything like that. And with the sidewalks, you're gonna put the sidewalk, we are the only ones that have sidewalks there. We've been lucky, we don't have to shovel it, but we do,
Oh,
because
yeah,
nobody uses it.
yeah.
But once you get to the top, they're gonna have to blast that. They're gonna have to blast that to make the sidewalk on that side of the street going over to the new neighbor. The sewer line that they were talking, that is buried, is at the top of my sidewalk. It's buried under, I try to clean it out, but I can't get it. It's the manhole
Yeah.
right there. My main concern is, I would like to see a lot more old growth in front. Block the lighting and the noise. Until 11 o'clock, really? They go my peaceful evenings in the afternoon.
All right, let me just back up a little bit, because you said something about the business that's already existing. You said
Yes.
that the light lights up your house
Yes,
and your
yes,
neighbor's house.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Does the lighting minimize at all during the evening? In other words, like, does it?
All day long.
All right.
All night long.
All day
It
long.
stays
So
on.
it doesn't come down at all.
It stays on all night long.
All right, because I'm gonna have you get in touch with, and I know you're making note of this, I'm just asking our planner to look at the plan to.
We're just two houses up
Notify
there,
that
and I guess
business.
I got more neighbors up there, but when we're up there,
Yeah,
you really don't know the amount of noise that we hear up there. I can hear the coaches down in McGee, inside the gym or outside, direct the kids, every little tiny thing,
yeah,
every time, we hear everything. And never mind the traffic, till 11 o'clock, and at that point, just try to go into our driveway at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after school comes out, and try to get out. You're basically looking, and go.
yeah.
When I'm plowing, I don't even look, I'm looking at the telephone lines. If I see the lights coming down the telephone lines, I know somebody's coming down the street, so I'm gonna go.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, I'm sorry.
thank you. No, you're so, no need to apologize. Is there anyone else who would cover us?
Thank you.
Okay, yes, okay, and then you'll be right after. You can
Yep.
queue up.
Okay.
Tony, remind me, even the car tree, and right now, the trees tall, so you can't see from the Agora, you can't see the building behind it. If you cut it, and then you will see everything, definitely, that tree help, the cut out usually noise.
Yeah.
Now, if you cut it off,
Yeah.
and then that's.
Well, and then, of course, during the winter, when everything falls,
Right.
you just have the
You know,
trees.
And then the view is,
Yeah.
right now, the people don't know, if you travel on it, they don't know, both sides, okay,
Yeah,
trees. But if you cut this, and then you definitely see, okay, this side is commercial, this side is
yeah.
residential. And that's why we set the volume.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
J.
you.
Thank you. And then you're up next.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Cusero, 519 Fort Road Road, and I just still want to reiterate the traffic. At least 5 times a week, I will be pulling out of my driveway. I will look to my left, to my right, again to my left, and I will start to head out. And as soon as I head out, someone's coming over the hill and are right behind me. If I'm going down Fort Rod, down the hill,
Yeah.
they're on my tail. If not, I have to back up into my driveway. It's a real hazard. And I can't even imagine what that's gonna be with the amount of people that are gonna be coming, because I know how I have 3 children, so I know what these sports centers are like. Parents are dropping off and it's like a rotating in and out. And it's just gonna be car after car after car coming in because they start at the same time, they end at the same time for a certain, each session. And granted, our house is up further up the driveway, but like Jay and Tony have already said, We do hear everything. There's big trucks that are going into that location as well. And it's just a very big concern. The trees, again, like, there's big buildings back there, and this is gonna be a large building, and I even think if they try to save some of the trees, you're still gonna see this big building. There's gonna be a lot of lights. Very big concern. Again, I'm worried about my property value as well. And I think this is a big concern of ours. We are just two properties, but there's a whole neighborhood right down the street within, I don't know how many feet from my house. So, I mean, there's a lot of children down there. The kids ride their bikes down the hill. I get worried about that as well because I see what the cars do on that street. So that's something I want, the traffic and, you know, the amount of vehicles that are going to be in and out. Granted, there's gonna be a number of parking spots, but that's not even gonna talk about how many people are actually coming in and out of that facility. So it's a very big concern of mine, as long as, you know, so the traffic study that you're looking to get, I think will be helpful, but it's just as a homeowner, right across the street from a development like this, it's challenging for us because now there's just one more being added to, you know, the different companies that are already in there and the traffic that's already existing.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? I see this gentleman here, and then I'll go to this lady.
So somebody else, okay.
Oh, you go first.
No, you go.
All right, hold strong.
What a gentleman. Good guy.
Hi, my name is Cara.
Cara.
Yeah.
Pretty name.
Thank you. I live in Berlin around 30 years. I'm so proud of Berlin's residency now. So I love that area before I buy. It's quiet, safe, and valuable. Now I started really worried about it since we
Can't hear you.
thinking 500 there. They have lots of noise, lights all night long. And then now they're starting another building right now. So I worry about three things. First, it's safe. So like, for example, we do the downhill, and we have 3 accidents happened on my the side driveway, all from the the company. And during the winter time, they have it in the hill, very cold. And the car hitting my the mailbox. And one time they ran to my driveway, hitting my tree, my property. That happened 2 times already. And now we have more traffic and more people coming. So I started more worried about my property safety now. So I will think about maybe more something. I don't know how I can keep my property safe. Another one is my house value. Because we are living in residency right now, this is more commercial. And we lost we pay pretty good, the property tax. That's why we want to keep our house more value. Now I feel so hard. I will losing how hard we keep it the house now. And now it's quiet. We have no quiet at all. And then before we have even if they have our business is there, but the more depend there. But now they are more close to our property now. They are too close now. So we don't have quiet. So the house value, house city saw how the quiet. We don't feel like a home at all. That's why it's really concerned now. So please,
All right,
okay.
we hear you. And thank you very much. It's a call.
I just want to, I know that traffic is a issue. And I'm just glad that the commissioner brought up traffic. But if there's traffic study done, then that's referred to the police department, board of police commissioners and police chief. And the traffic study will go to the traffic division. So that's asked for a report from them that the planner does. So that's something that will happen automatically, basically. They'll be referred to those commissions.
All right, thank you. And
Yes, Chris Edge, 240 Kensington Road. It sounds to me like this is definitely a police commission item to look at the road regardless of the development, because it sounds like this is an area that probably should be looked at for some kind of traffic calming. I don't know whether or not it is something, again, concept. Make it a four-way intersection down at the bottom of the hill because of the added traffic or something like that, because it sounds like, especially when you're in and out of your driveways, that it is risky, which is very understandable. Again, not my call, that's more the police department's call. I, the economic development director, the economic development commission was in favor of the development, knowing the fact that there is a great need for more sports facilities in town. I would love for developer and the planner, if possible, to work together on the lighting to make sure that it is going down and not towards their houses. It sounds like the last building maybe wasn't, the lights weren't as they should have been, I guess is the best way to put it. And I think that to try to keep the neighbors in mind when this is done, because I think this can be beneficial to the community. I know that having active kids, I think is something that Berlin has always had for a while. Is very proud of our sports and our kids. I think that can continue. I just hope that something maybe can be worked out here with this. And again, I think that, and I know I have driven on a regular basis and talked to the different businesses that are there. And yes, it is sometimes challenging to get out, as it presently is, because it is a very steep hill when you're coming down from, I think it's from the northern side. I'm not mistaken. But definitely, Economic Development Commission is in favor, because this would be great. I think definitely to look at it carefully with the applicant to make sure that the safety is taken care of with the police as well as the lights, and make sure that it does fit in as best as possible.
all right, thank you. Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Miller.
I've never been to one of these. You said there's gonna be tournaments there? Or is
Yeah,
this?
they run basketball games.
Okay, and
Yeah.
there's spectators?
There will be limited spectators in the beginning. They don't have much spectator seating in the one in Middletown. I keep thinking it's Cromwell, so if I sound slow because it's right on that border. And this facility will not have seating in the beginning, but they will have limited seating. Potentially, when the addition goes on, there could be more seating, there could be a lot more seating. But in the beginning, this is really primarily free basketball courts where they'll be playing games. And it's kind of like leagues, so that's why I say games. So they'll put teams together and then they play each other. They'll have practice days and then they'll also have game day. I'd also like to speak for a second about the noise level in this particular facility, seeing I own 500 Rod. And sheet metal is my neighbor. The windows aren't open. This is a closed facility and you have HVAC in there. So this is a climate controlled facility. And you're gonna have noise traveling, certainly from the sheet metal when the garage doors are open, which there's 3 or 4 garage doors open when they're working. You're gonna have it in 500 Rod when guys are working outside. It's an industrial building. I just don't see how basketball indoor is gonna be a very loud event compared to the industrial park that exists there now.
Well, and just keeping in mind the neighbors, I know my neighbors can hear my husband and I scream at each other and all our windows are open. Bunch of kids playing basketball and cheering, I think they might hear them, so. I just want to keep in mind, what you said, first off, there won't be a lot of spectators. It may grow, and I'd like to keep that in mind for our neighbors here, when we make a decision.
Well, I think we hit on yes, Chris,
Quick thing. Chris, I just 240 Kensington Road, I apologize. I'm actually going to be meeting with the Vail Sports folks tomorrow. I'm going down to the facility, so I can have a conversation with them in particular about adjacent neighborhood hours and see if I can talk to them a little bit, because I think this is different than I think we currently are, which is in a major road. And again, I don't know if hours have been set aside, but maybe just work out, see what can be done with the neighbors in mind, knowing the fact that it's a neighborhood that's right across the street. Like I mentioned, I will be talking to them tomorrow, so it's.
Okay. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us with this project, and I think we have a direction at this point. And go ahead, Mr. Hogan.
I'll make the motion to table this item.
Okay, second. All right, we have a motion to table by Mr. Rogan. We have a second by Ms. Jorsey. We have further discussion on that.
I just want to irritate to the homeowners there that the applicant did say they were going to do the downlining, that for the lighting stays down. And the application next door, that was in the application next door too. I'm sure zoning will be addressing that, because you brought it up tonight. So it's maybe a good way.
Okay, well, improvement there
The
anyway.
noise is just, you
Yeah.
really don't understand the noise that you hear from the jam.
We can imagine, but we're going to be continuing anyway, so, oh, yes, Maureen.
Can I make a comment? And it's
Yes,
an administrative comment.
okay.
And of course, subject to submission and the applicant as well. We opened the public hearing tonight. You do have 35 days to close it. We have found that trying to address issues and get them turned around in 2 weeks is
Difficult?
challenging.
Yes.
I do have time away over the next 2 weeks. That means I won't be available. Yeah, limited, but, and, so I'm wondering if it's acceptable for, if you ask if we can go to the November 17th meeting to continue this public hearing, so they have time to meet with staff if that's what they choose to do.
Okay.
As opposed to continuing it just to the next hearing, because if we get modifications or a traffic study, it likely won't come in by then, by
Okay.
the 3rd.
I
It's
may,
only 2 weeks.
I think we'll have to make amendment to the motion, but just so you know, I may not be here on the 17th.
I forgot that. I'm
So-
sorry, so
I have
it has to be the 3rd.
It would have to be, we'd actually have to move it off to the 1st or the 3rd of December.
Well, that would require an extension of
Okay.
keeping the public hearing open, which the applicant would have to agree to.
Okay, so how does the applicant feel about that?
The option is the
3rd of December.
The 3rd of December? Whichever it is.
The first of December.
Wait, it's the first Thursday, so I believe it's the 1st of December.
I don't know what options we have, so.
Well, if we go to the 1st of December, I mean, technically because the planner has assigned time off, if we're gonna go ahead and go to work with the traffic study and everything else that we're looking at, if we're gonna wait for this information to come in and for her to review it, she won't be able to do it over the course of the next 2 weeks, all right? So, for us to have this ready for, I don't even know where we are anymore, we're in October, right? Okay, so for her to have it ready for the 3rd of November, it's not gonna work, so we're looking at the 17th of November. I'm 99.9% sure that I will not be able to make this meeting. I have another commitment on the 17th, so it would be at the pleasure of the commission if they want to, if you want to go ahead with the meeting with us on the 17th of November, or it would go to the 1st of December. And if we go to December 1st, we need an extension from you.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine by me, but I just have to concur with my renter because I know he has a season that starts and supposedly I have to get him in by July 1st. So I may not make that window, so I may have to go back to the drawing board with them.
Okay.
I would say, sure, I mean, it sounds like December 1st makes the most logical choice. But if I lose the renter, I just will tell the town and then I'll move on.
All right, So you, the pleasure, what do you think?
So administratively, another possibility is to, at this time, anticipate it being on the 17th, subject to it possibly being moved with an extension to the.
Okay, we can set it
That's
up
an
that way.
option as well.
All right, so why don't we do it that way? So we'll go ahead and we'll have you back on the 17th, and if we need that extension beyond that.
Only
So-
takes me a couple of days to check with them. Chris is
Okay.
meeting them tomorrow. I just don't want to put words in the person's mouth.
Okay. Well,
So
I mean,
hopefully you'll be able to announce that the date that it was continued to at the next meeting. and
Yes.
We'll make sure that it's.
okay,
So I will amend my motion to table this until November 17th.
okay, we have a motion? Okay, we have a second by Ms. Jersey. Further discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Great, thanks, Steve. Those opposed, so moved. Okay. So we'll see you all 17th. All right, so now, okay, we're just gonna give them a minute to sort of settle in here. And if anyone, I mean, so the 17th of November would be the next step for a public hearing on this, okay? Pardon? Same time, yes. And you could also check on the website, the Berlin Town Hall website, too, because I know Maureen posts the agenda up there. So if you wanna see where you guys are on the agenda, to give you an assessment, you know, you may be first up or you may be toward the end, so maybe you know not to come specifically at 7, but you're welcome either way, okay? Yeah, all right. Thank you. And everyone have a good night. Drive carefully, keep warm. Okay. And, yeah, I know, because it's gonna be 30 something or whatever.
70 on
right?
Sunday.
Yeah, 70 on Sunday, that's what people have to do. All right, so are we ready next for the public hearing, which is the special permit site plan applications of Little House Living LLC for 19 residential units, 3 single family style buildings and 8 duplex style buildings, and related site improvements at 1676 Berlin Turnpike, MBL 22-1-114-10 in the BT1 zone. Okay. Welcome back. And now I have to get my paper.
Chairperson.
All right, yes,
I just, so I asked a question, from here. Plan I see in front of me right now is all duplexes. This is not the plan that, notice, public, meetings that we've had. This is a total, I see here, a total different plan than what we've been discussing. So I'm asking the planner, the major change, in this application, so be a major change, then we should redo application.
I'm sorry, can you say that?
I think that this is a major change to the project, all these duplexes that I see in front of me.
Okay,
Okay. And if this is the plan now, this is not the plan that we've been studying for the last public hearings. And this is a major change. So if there's a major change in the project, you know, we shouldn't be addressing the major changes, should be a new application, as far as I'm concerned, because of the major change.
yeah,
This needs to be restudied by the planner, every people that we send it to, the police commission, everyone else. Because this project,
yeah, this is all duplexes, right?
right?
Yeah, there's no single family.
Can I give a little introduction for in that comment? if you want?
Yeah, I think, yeah, okay.
Just something in Patrick Snow, Little House. And the reason for the adjustments or the changes are based on comments from the Holly Court neighbors, based on comments from the commission. And we feel that these changes have addressed all of those concerns and made the plan better. I'm not saying that it should be closed and not looked at via town staff if they need more time. But the whole reason that these have changed is based on comments from the neighbors, and we believe that we've addressed all of the concerns and would like to at least present it. And I don't think we're under a time frame to keep this open for if we need to get comments from outside commissioners. And to your comment, Commissioner, it's would be great to come back, but under the moratorium, that would mean a substantial delay further and financial hardship of what I've been through already to adjust it to do this. At the last meeting, we had received the comments, and regarding the nomenclature on the plans, we worked diligently to get that done and reapplied. We also worked diligently to address all the comments of the neighbors, and that's the reason for changes. And honestly, the changes I think are better because they do address all those things. And I'm not saying that they are changes. I don't know how else to say that, but if I can go through them, then maybe we could make that decision at the end of that, my little presentation.
Okay, well, and to Commissioner Zigmund's point, we say that we have 19 residential units and 3 single-family style buildings. So where is the single families? Or am I not missing it? Am I supposed to be looking at this?
There should be another page. That
This
shows
plan
it.
here?
What you're looking at there is, just so you understand, the commission understand, that's what was originally proposed from the last meeting. And the red lines are what was changed. When you see the red items, those were what was changed.
Okay, so this is what I'm supposed to be looking at.
A set of plans was also provided. It's not redlined, so it doesn't have double data.
Okay,
It
so
only
I
has
need to-
single data on the other sheet.
So just give me a second. Okay, give me a second so I can open the second plan without getting it too crazy on the tape.
Sure, Maya.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay.
What my concern is that the posting that you just read. I'm like some pretty simple, posting that, legal posting is to give the public, what the project's going to be. Now, it's not through that posting. Minor changes, we do all the time. Adjustments to houses, back lots or whatever, how far lots from the lot lines, that we do all the time. But to change the whole plan to duplexes is not what the project was advertised as. And that's my question about it.
Okay, Maureen, do we need to ask our town attorney? Or is she?
So she is at another meeting, but told me I could text her. However, my phone broke today and decided it wasn't gonna work anymore, so I'm trying to figure out how to text on this phone. So I am going to get a text off to her. However,
I think
let
Chris
me
is gonna.
just say that my opinion on this would be that the public hearing was open and all these modifications have been discussed during an open public hearing. And therefore, the modifications are a continuation from the public hearing and have all been discussed at all the public hearings throughout. So therefore, this has all been in response to the commission and public hearing testimony. So this, the way it was posted was the way it was posted from the beginning. However, anyone wishing to participate would have been able to follow that. It's not, there's no break.
Okay, in other words, you're saying that this is what the project has grown into.
Yes, that would be my opinion. I will get a confirmation from them.
And I think
But I
Ms.
believe
Daly
this
wants-
is responsive to.
I'll take a recess for 5 minutes while she.
Well, but Ms. Daly has a question or a comment.
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you where it seems like as we come back or we communicate that they are responding to our requests. I think the comments we may have made are, there weren't so many. And so I think they have presented a plan that we should look at. There's a lot of green space. The open is, there's just a lot of positives, I think, with this more recent drawing as compared to the last one, I think, in serious reflection of what they heard here. I'm not going against what Tim says or anything. And
No, he's just raising the question.
I'm just raising the question on procedure.
And I'm new on the team, and so, I'm open to that too, but I think it would be helpful to hear what they've added value with on this new plan.
What I'm used to is basically you get movement and placement of homes and stuff like that during a discussion. Water lines.
Yeah.
Stuff
I
like
hear you,
that.
Tim.
The water flow, sheeting off of the property and all that stuff. That's what makes the difference here. And that's going in my head.
Yeah, we're gonna get to you. Go ahead.
Quick statement, the way I can see this.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've been through many public hearings and review processes. I looked at this similar as I come in with the site plan for 100,000 square foot building. For some reason, the commission feels it's too big. They want me to reduce that building footprint. They want me to reduce the parking. We were responding to comments that we received as we gone through some processes. All we've done is reduce the overall number of units. We've increased buffers. What we did is in response to the last meeting, I heard the commission's concern, I heard the neighbors' concerns. And believe me, it's been a scramble over the past week to modify a whole set of plans. That's why initially we did the red line plan to show what we're thinking about. Sat down with the staff and reviewed it and said, before we go down this road, we create a whole set of plans. Can we, are you in agreement? And do you think these are all positive? So, I don't, as you go through the process, if I was coming back and asking to add 4 units, yeah, the notifications is tainted. We're asking for reducing substantially increasing buffers. All we want to do is go over it and show what we've done. If staff needs more time to review it, Mr. Snow is already committed to. He'll allow more time to review. I know understand it's a struggle for all of us in trying to deal with today's workplace and getting them done in a short manner. Again, it's been scrambled for weeks. We do a whole set of plans, all calculations. I'm sure the drainage still works right, the sewage still works right, all the grading works right. It's been a feat in 1 week to do. And again, I did it because everybody residents said, I heard what the commission said.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Yeah, go ahead, Andrea, Ms. Miller.
This is just my ignorance on being new on this. Were any of the buildings that were removed, were they affordable housing? Are there any in here that were supposed to be affordable housing?
Your affordable housing is he's required to provide 4 units dedicated to affordable housing, whether it was 19 or 18. He's supposed to provide 4, and it doesn't make a difference where it is. You can't.
It's just, I'm gathering knowledge, that's all.
Specific to a specific type of unit. You may have district similar units.
Okay, and have the neighbors had a chance to look at your new plan yet?
Again, it's been a struggle over the past week, and that's why if you need more time, if staff needs more time, if the neighbors want more time.
I just want to know if people had a chance to look at it.
But again, we did this all to hopefully ease some other concerns.
I do like some. Okay.
All right.
So administratively, at the last meeting, you asked that the plan be submitted by the end of last week so that the neighbors as well as staff would hopefully have enough time. There's never enough time for everything. So they did submit that red line drawing on Friday with all the corrected sheets of detailed sheets where they were called out for having the cut and pasting incorrectly and et cetera. All those sheets were updated and acknowledging that the full set of plans with the red line changes would come in, and they came in on Monday. We have had some public viewing of it. I can't say how many of the neighbors came in. I do know we had neighbors come in, but 3 of us watched the counter, so.
All right. Okay, so,
I know Mrs. Austrian did, because I spoke to her specifically, I don't think it's others.
all right, well, why don't we can, as the commission, go ahead and hear what testimony that, the applicant has, and of course, because the public's been sitting here, I think it's only fair that we take their testimony as well, okay? So, go ahead with the presentation that you have this far.
Okay, again, my name is Patrick Snow from Little House Living. As Mr. Cassidy said, we did scramble for the last week and try to adjust the plans to make all of the changes or adjustments that we heard from the commission. I'll just review them and I'll let Mr. Cassidy go through a lot of the details. The first concern we heard from the neighbors was foot traffic being able coming from our potential development back to Holly Court. That was addressed via a fence. We've already agreed to put a 6-foot fence around the perimeter of the property, or two sides of the property, abutting our neighbor to the south and also our neighbors towards Holly Court. So it'll be a 6-foot fence for both of those. The second concern we heard from the neighbors was privacy. They felt that looking up at the subdivision was too great. We addressed this by moving the original plan had approximately 18 feet of buffer from the property to the back of the home. We've increased that to 45 feet. One of the neighbors had requested it be 50 feet. We tried, we just couldn't get there with the way the tightness was. But now we've moved from the 20 to 45 feet. Plus, we've kept the row of trees that were there, so there'll be no disturbance to those back row of trees. The neighbor to our south had requested at the last meeting a 25-foot buffer, which we have accommodated him to make all the properties on that side of the southern side be 25 feet from his property line to the back of the construction home. The third thing was open space. The commission had requested to remove 4 units from the internal circle of the subdivision. We got it down to one common, I want to say common, common space, I guess, would be where people can go. And there's also a leasing office during the time that we'll be going there, and there'll also be some kind of storage area for maintenance equipment. Maintenance equipment. The fourth thing we heard was additional parking, which we have increased parking spaces for guests, which should alleviate the fact that people were concerned if there was guests or party, there would be parking either on Holly Court and walking around, which we believe is not likely, but I think we made it and hard for them to do. Those are the quick things that we did, and I'll leave Mr. Cassidy to address the specifics of those.
Thank you.
Forward 2 slides. So again, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I think that they're having problems hearing you.
On Zoom.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
On Zoom, they're having a hard time. hearing
On
you.
Zoom.
So, with our system, you have to really lean into
Okay.
the speaker.
All right.
There you go.
Terrible system.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to go over the visions and make the plans. First of all, at the last meeting, again, fortunately, some scrivener's got past us on a copy and paste page. So we went through the entire set of plans, reviewed them and internally again, and corrected all scrivener errors we could find on the plans. Those plans were resubmitted last week within the deadline. Quite honestly, that evening after the meeting, hearing all the comments and concerns from the neighbors and also from the commission, I actually went back to the office and created the red line plan that you see. What I heard from the commission were a couple things. Number one, too many units. We had a total of 19 units. 8 of those units were duplex, 3 were single family. They wanted a reduction in the number of units. In addition to, I heard that the original layout in that Center Island area, I had 2 duplexes for a total of 4 units. They didn't like that feeling of community of having residents in the center of the overall complex. They thought that area can be better utilized as some kind of community space. I went back to the drawing board and that evening created a red line plan that you see before you. Can you go forward one more page? So the first plan that I had up is the new layout. What we did to start is we took a look at the design of the unit. One of the issues I initially had with the unit was the width. The width of the unit was causing the overall development to be shoved through the back. That was causing us to only along our westerly or the Holly Court property line to have, although required to have 15 feet, we had about 35 feet for the
the south side, again, we're required to have 15. At some spots, we only had 17. We reconfigured the unit. You'll actually see, if you look at the red lines, those were the original building footprints. They are much wider and deeper. We reconfigured the garage into the units so it'd be narrower. Overall, they're about the same square footage. What it allowed me to do is to pull the whole development closer towards the Berlin Turnpike and also pull it away from the south. Yes, we had to go to all duplexes to accomplish this. Now we're looking at 9 buildings, 9 duplexes for a total of 18 units, but you are down by 1 unit in the overall development. What this allowed us to do is on the Holly Court side, we increased the buffer on that side for a minimum of 35, although required 15, now we're up to about 46 and a half as a minimum, so 50 feet. Really tried to get it even tighter, but I want to be realistic about it, so it's about as tight as I can get on that westerly side. On the southerly side, we heard the neighbors' concern. We pulled those units off to the north. And the first unit on the right-hand side, it went from 17 feet, is now at 29 feet to the property line. The tightest one is going to be the 1 unit down at the end there. That unit, that's the duplex unit, is a minimum of 25.8 feet, so that's going to be the closest unit to the property line. In addition to, I made the island in the center smaller, but what we did is, you'll see 1 brown rectangle in there. We went back, and Mr. Snow and I talked about what kind of amenities can we provide, what would be a meaningful amenity. The one thing we thought about is actually having a community space building. There's always a need for a rental office, and as you said, storage equipment, or snow shovels, whatever cleaning products they need. Again, these are rental units or repair products. In addition to, if a family has, a larger family come over and they want a community room that they can go to, this small area in the center has a footprint of about 760 square feet. It offers about a 500 square foot community area within the building. In addition to, we took a look at the remaining landscape island area and tried to figure out what else can we do, what are people looking for nowadays. Believe me, over the past 5 years, I've done numerous apartment developments. And the one big thing we're always looking for in these apartment developments, other than amenity spaces such as pools like you have in bigger ones, is dog parks, dog areas. So you see a darker green area in the center of that. This is a fenced in area, segregated into 2 separate areas, a small circle for smaller dogs and a larger, we'll call it a elliptical shape for larger dog area. This would have 2 gates fenced in and it'll allow people the opportunity to mingle with each other, bring the dogs in. They have a safe area to play other than walking around the streets in the development. The area to the forward of that, we're proposing to plant a series of shade trees to kind of have a more residential feel as you come into the community. In addition to, if you can slide down to the bottom or upper left corner, I'm sorry. We still have this area that we have an underground detention system. Other than having a large lawn area in that, this is a nice open area. We are proposing that we can do either such things as, my thought is to have a community garden in that area, but it can be small plots for the residents to go and plant the vegetables and so on and so forth within that area. It's a good area. It has about 2 feet of cover over top of the system with ample soils to support growing over that top of that area. The soils are good in that area. In addition to, there was a concern I heard about parking spaces. In the original plan that was submitted, we had dedicated 1 garage space, 1 driveway space, so a total of 2 spaces per unit. Your regulations require we provide 1.5 for multifamily developments. We did hear your concerns about potential guests and where would they park. What we've done, if you go back 1 page, go over on the other page. What we've done is on the entrance drive, as you first come in on the right-hand side, we've incorporated 3 parking spaces for visitors there. On the opposite side of the driveway, as you come out, we incorporated another 3. And then just in front of that community building, we incorporated 3. That gives us 9 additional spaces for visitors. That puts this development at a parking ratio of 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit. That's the highest parking ratio that basically I've ever done for multifamily development. Other than single family houses, we have a common drive or individual driveway to support much more. So it is a high priority based upon the overall use. The other things that happen, for all the drainage calculations, when I take a look at the pre and post, or sorry, the prior plan and this plan, as we've gone through the process, as I pull it further and I kind of condense the unit, I've actually continued to decrease the overall impervious coverage. From the prior plan that we looked at last month to this plan, I'm down about another 1,500 square feet overall impervious coverage. I know there was a question last time we were here from one of the commission members about how much coverage do you have on this lot. For this regulation we're coming under, we're allowed to have a total of 50%. A little unclear whether it's supposed to be building or impervious coverage. The buildings itself are only at 17.6% of the overall property. The total impervious coverage is actually at 42.9%. So even if it's overall impervious coverage we have to be looking at, we're still under. Other things, as Mr. Stone mentioned, we've incorporated as we listen to the commission and listen to the neighbors, the concern about people from this development cutting through and down to Holly Court. Number one is a steep slope traverse. We did hear that. We're not promoting that, but to make sure that doesn't happen, we did propose an entire section of 6 foot high solid vinyl fence, vinyl board fence along the westerly property line, and then continue down along the south. In addition to one thing I've been fighting from day one on this development is there's a significant row of evergreens there. Unfortunately, the bottom section, when evergreens grow, the bottom becomes a little bit sparse. So with the combination of this fence and preserving the existing hedgerow or the evergreen row that's there, we're also proposing on our side to put clusters of shrubs consisting of arborvitaes and rhododendrons to help fill in that bottom area and soften the overall appearance, not only for neighbors, for our side too. So with these measures in place, other than having someone climb over a 6 foot fence, vertical fence, without a gate, I don't see how you can get from one neighborhood to the other. We tried to incorporate a lot of landscaping. I want it to feel like a residential feel, so I tried to incorporate a lot of street trees. You'll see along the entire frontage, we have a series of canopy trees. Typically, we plant those canopy trees at a spacing of about 40 to 50 feet on center. They're actually at a spacing of about 20. My purpose for doing this is I wanted to also dampen noise for our development also. So I want to go with bigger spacing. And then within the overall road circumference between each one of the units, we're proposing street tree. If you were to look at the plans within the plan LP2, landscape plan 2, what we do is we have a separate plan for each foundation. You'll see a small section of sidewalk that goes from the driveway to the front door. We're proposing to have a series of landscape foundation plantings around each one of the units also that not shown on this because of the small scale, they're actually shown in LP2. But we give a variety of types of plants that can be planted, so not everything looks similar. It gives a variety of types of plants. Again, I think we've tried to address as many of the concerns that we can and still make this a viable project. I basically will conclude with saying, when I get involved in projects, believe me, there's a lot of projects I don't get involved in. I'm pretty selective at this point in my career. When I take a look at projects, there's certain things I look at, and it's, what's the advantage, and is there a benefit? And the two benefits that I'm going to be upfront and frank about that I saw with this over development is I live in the area. I drive through here all the time. Unfortunately, Berlin Turnpike was a transient route before 91 came in, and you had all motels up and down the Berlin Turnpike. 91 comes through, the motels don't survive. You need to find something to do with motels. Would it be great to have a retail store? It would. The retail stores aren't built right now. It'd be great to have an office building. It would. Someone wants to rent my office building. It'd be great. It's very tough with office buildings. So I try to find a use that it's good. My reasoning for thinking that this is a good use for this property is it does one other thing that I like to promote. It gives the town the opportunity to provide much needed affordable housing stock. I can tell you again, over the past 5 years, I've done over 2,000 apartment units. In any development I've done, I've never seen 20% of the housing stock restricted to an affordable housing rate. It's usually more than the magnitude of about 9 to 10%. So this is like the highest ratio I've seen of affordable housing proposed for this type of development. Personally, I believe that this is a good use for this property. It checks off a couple of boxes. It's a good reuse of the developed property, and also provides much needed affordable housing stock like in many towns throughout Connecticut. So with that, I'm going to conclude my brief for the presentation. Again, I hope the commission, feels that we made some substantive changes. I do understand if staff needs more time to review. That's completely understandable. Even neighbors want to review it, but I hope we try to do as much as we can to hopefully appease a bunch of their concerns.
All right, fair enough, thank you. Quick, groups of the commission, yeah, Ms. Daly?
I didn't mean to interrupt where you were headed.
No, I was just doing a quick span over to see the commission if there were questions before I turn to the public. Oh, there are. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I might like to just mention a few things that I felt this change of plans helped with improved quality of life living there. It is, with the buildings coming off with a back fencing area, I think it gives the families more space, or the renters more space in the backyard. They've got that little short 6-foot wall to divide one side to the other, so they could spend more time in the back, either enjoying the backyard or having a barbecue grill. I feel that it's less cluttered in the driveway area. It seems just much more open and easy to get around. It doesn't seem as cramped. I felt it was a more comfortable place just to live in that space. I like that the parking spaces came off from or moved to the entrance area. Prior plan, it was closer to different apartments or duplexes, and I thought that seemed to be very compact and very feeling like there's just too much in one space. So I appreciate a lot of the changes I see, and then the open space, I thought it was some nice adjustments.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the commission? So, yes.
I too appreciate the work that has gone into trying to address the concerns that have been raised. The questions that I have for you deal with the proposed dog park area and the community garden area, and whether or not consideration has been given to rules for the use of those areas. Community garden spaces without rules tend to turn into weedy, unkempt areas. And the dog park area, from a liability consideration, I think maybe rules need to be considered and part of the package, the final package that gets approved. So
Yeah, we organize. So one on the community garden space, one of the advantages is it's not a kind of, it's single ownership. So Mr. was in charge of that area. Problems. So it becomes weedy a lot of it. He'll have to clean it up. He's the one that's going to be accountable for it by the town. There's concern. The dog park area, I've learned a lot over the past year on dog parks. And how they actually make them. I haven't gone out with Mr. Snow yet, but one of the interesting things that I found, it works, is what they actually do. A renter have dog, they're registered dog, as part of that, they do DNA testing. If they find someone's not picking up, get tested. Waste gets tested, and there's a section of the contract that they find. So I mean, that's how they take it.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, dog poop test.
Yeah, what Mr. Cassidy said, it's called a poo-poo or somebody, or a pup. Somebody that does that, and you, if someone leaves and doesn't clean it up, you know exactly which dog it is. You can say, I can't say it's not mine.
I've never heard of such a thing, but my concern is maybe more from a liability perspective for possible bad interactions between dogs or dog and people and consideration.
From a liability side, anyone who has a pet that rents from my other product in town, we make them get renters or not a homeowner, but some renters insurance. And part of that is a whole harmless and a certain liability. So that's how I've dealt with it in the past, and happy to, that's a requirement if someone has a dog. That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, I have a quick question just before we go to the public, and I know the topic a bit, okay. I know that you're telling me about the setbacks, but what is your buffer between the buildings? Are we still at 10 feet?
10 feet between the buildings.
10 feet between the buildings.
I'm going through that with staff. It's a requirement, so.
All right, and I guess I have a concern with number 13 and 14, the duplex in the corner, and I just really want to, it's almost as if you have this flow that's happening and then you sort of jam this other duplex in there. So I was thinking that perhaps we could remove 13 and 14 out. And this would give you a little bit more space there. It would give you a greater buffer from the business. And it would give you a little bit more green area as well. But that's just a thought that I have at this point. And I know Ms. Miller wanted to comment.
Yes, thank you for listening to all of our comments and suggestions. I really appreciate it. Regarding the community center, how are you going to maintain that? How are you going to control that? I'm assuming it's going to be locked up at night, so it's just not open to the public for anybody to walk in and off the highway?
That's correct. It would be something where someone would reserve it or something along those lines. And typically we have codes that we program in. Say you want to reserve it, I would program a code so you could do it, and then I remove the code when your time is up.
Okay, right, thank you.
Now we get to the fun part. So now we're going to get to the public. So is there anyone here who wishes to address the commission regarding this application? Now would be the time to do so. And thank you for your patience in sitting here all evening.
Am I loud enough?
Are you loud enough?
Yeah, just did it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, about the Zoom. I don't know. Can you bend
Really
this?
lean in, really like see the difference
Yeah,
between
lean
doing
in.
this and doing this.
How's this?
Oh, it's
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay,
Good. Go ahead.
Linda Alstrom, I can hear myself, 48 Holly Court. I want to start from the beginning because we've been impacted all along so terribly. Berlin Zoning Commission approved an amendment in May 2021 called the Planned Residential Infill Development, which is intended to redevelop motel uses into permanent dwellings. This amendment removes all 12 of the vintage motel properties from commercial use and allows only high-density rental housing. This amendment was passed without taxpayers being notified. Zoning did an end run. Because of COVID restrictions, the only notification necessary was to put a notice on the town website. We all read this. This may be illegal, but not the ethical nor fair way to communicate to townspeople. Apparently, it was too much to have zoning post a short statement in the Berlin Citizen, which had over 9,100 subscribers at the time. Had this happened, we residents would have had a chance to respond to this debacle. It is obvious that we were to be kept in the dark. This text amendment was anointed from the start with communications being controlled so the masses, also known as the taxpayers, would stay ignorant. We have been snookered. FYI, the Berlin Citizen now has over 9,800 subscribers. I've got exhibits here. This planned residential infill amendment was written specifically for 1676 Berlin Turnpike by the developer's attorney. The 1676 application was opened to planning and zoning on October 7th, 2021. Even though this amendment was passed in May of 2021, the text was not approved until November 15 and effective November 16, 2021, just in time for the developer to be on the November 18 zoning agenda. How could P&Z receive and process an application 6 weeks before the text was written and the amendment in effect? This project was blessed before its initial application. Amazingly, even though the developer's file was missing vital information, the developer was allowed to proceed with his application. The following is what was purposely missing from the file. There were no drainage and stormwater calculations nor documentation. No customary comments from either the town engineer nor Public Works, since there was no drainage and stormwater information to comment on. No sign off from inland wetlands, even though there is a small creek culvert that runs behind Holly Court properties and wetlands that are within 50 feet of the project. A second commission meeting was scheduled for December 16. We knew to ask for and receive postponement for lack of drainage and stormwater calculations. Now I forgot where I was. The Public Works Deputy Director in a memo dated December 30th stated, "My initial determination that permitting was not required was based on plans dated 10/7/21, which made no reference to any regulated areas either within or adjacent to the property. The most recent plans, 12/21/21, indicate regulated areas lie within 50 feet of the proposed disturbances." Exhibit C. The developer had neglected to show this on the original site plan in hopes of circumventing inland wetlands. He knew there would be drainage issues causing the units to be built farther away from the original 15 feet. He was caught in order to apply to inland wetlands. We asked for a postponement on the January 20th, 2022 rescheduled zoning commission meeting since there were no site plan corrections nor supporting data for drainage or stormwater management. Again, we got a postponement of the March 1st Inland Wetlands Commission meeting because the developer had not brought in soil sample results nor revamped the drainage supporting data. The developer was eventually approved by inland wetlands after significant changes to the plan. This project was blessed from its inception. The developer's new application was on the August zoning commission agenda. Since there was no sign on that property announcing that 1676 was going through P&Z, and there was no second notice in the paper, we received another postponement. The commission meeting finally took place on September 1st. At the October 6th follow-up meeting, I talked about the 10 mistakes on the C7 site plan erosion sheet. Rocky Hill being listed 7 times, Berlin 0 times. The developer in Rocky Hill being listed twice as the owner, and an impossible construction starting date of spring 2020 with a completion date of spring 2021. The commission was also hearing about some revisions for the first time. Again, we had another postponement. The developer was ordered to have his revisions to P and Z in 1 week by October 13th. So everyone would have time to look at the plans before the October 20 meeting. The newly revised plans are dated 10/17. My guess is that the commission will be overlooking the lateness of the submission. At the September meeting, I stated that the developer was lying when he said the original rear boundary setback was 22.6 feet. I stated that according to the site plan C2 page, the first deficiency on the southwest corner was surveyed at 30.7 feet with a gradual, this is over by me, the gradual drifting down to 22.6 feet. There was undeveloped land on the perimeter of 5 units with undeveloped land going this way. So that was all a 30-foot buffer. The chart should have at least been changed to show a range of 30.7 feet to 22.6 feet. Wouldn't you think that they would have done something about this since I was talking about it? Not a chance. Just another attempt of covering up the truth. The minimum side yard chart also does have an incorrect range, which should be corrected to 20.9 feet to 29 feet. I mean, if I can spot these things, I don't know why those guys can't. At the November 18th, 2021 meeting, the commission members were shocked to learn that the old motel had been totally demolished. On C6, this is the original from October 7th of last year. You have, but it's not been changed. You have on your C6, it's the same as this. So number 26. These plans are for permitting purposes only. No construction or demolition shall begin until approval of the final plans is granted. Number 41, the 50-foot residential buffer shall be staked and demarked. Thanks for the 50 feet. Under grading, number 12, these plans are for permitting purposes only. No construction or demolition shall begin until approval of the final plans is granted. The developer got away with premature demolition with no repercussions from zoning. Does anyone see a negative pattern here? As I have said, this project has been blessed from the beginning. How can you trust this developer and his troops since they all seem to be dishonest, sloppy, and negligent? On March 10, 2022, a letter was sent from the Berlin Economic Commission to P&Z with a copy to Commissioner Deely. The Economic Commission was asking the Zoning Commission to look at the following in the text amendment. Letter. Would it be possible for the development to connect to an adjacent street, Holly Court? 35 feet seems very high next to residential. 15-foot setback does not seem like enough when bordering residential. 5-foot setback for accessory structures does not seem to be enough when bordering residential. Look again at how things are put out for public hearings. Berlin Citizen or New Britain Herald, moving ahead. To date, the concerns of the Economic Commission have not been addressed. Setbacks give protection and space to abutting properties. In this case, there are 2 commercial properties abutting the project, and 2 residential properties abutting at its rear boundary on Holly Court. The amendment setbacks are 15 feet on any side, including backing up to residential. The units were moved back 46.5 feet from Holly Court because of storm drainage concerns. We are requesting that the original 1676 BT1 rear buffer of 50 feet when abutting residential remain in place. This would lessen the impact of all these units on our neighborhood. At both the November 2021 meeting and the September 2022 meeting, we asked for an impact analysis to be completed. To date, we have not been heard on this matter. Holly Court zoning is R15 and our owner-occupied homes are either ranches or raised ranches. This high-density rental housing will impact us greatly. The units are all 2-story and are between 22.5 and 26 feet in height. Our street elevation is 118 feet. There's a 10-foot incline up to 128 feet where the units will be built. From our street, we will see the actual height of the buildings as being between 32.5 and 36 feet tall. This will be overpowering to us. This high-density project will overcrowd the land, ruin our sense of community and well-being, and devalue our properties. The national average is 2.5 persons for each 2-bedroom unit. This means there will be 45 renters living next to us. What will happen to the peaceful enjoyment of our properties? On our street, we have 25 people and 9 homes. We never impact each other because we have plenty of space between us. At the September 1st meeting, the developer had a tenant living at his 319 Main Street, East Berlin property, stating that it's a great place to live. No doubt, it's a better place to live than being crammed into units at 1676. As you know, the Main Street property is 7.62 acres with a conservation easement of 4.85 acres. There are 20 units built on 2.77 acres. There are 18 garages with driveway parking and 4 parking spaces for 2 units. This leaves 20 additional parking spaces shown on the site plan with ample room for more cars. Main Street has 0.8 of an acre more for buildings and parking. This is a far cry from 18 units crowded onto 1.9 acres with only 9 additional parking spaces outside of the 18 garages and driveways at 1676. 3 commission members have voiced concern over the potential amount of units. Thank you. We still have major concerns regarding stormwater runoff flooding our homes when there are superstorms and inundating rains for days. There's a 10-foot drop in elevation from the project to our properties. The subsurface infiltration system is now totally next to 51 Holly. If that system fails, that house could be seriously damaged. Also, stormwater from a 100-year storm could barrel out of the culvert and stream and flood basements and yards of abutting Holly Court neighbors. We request either the town or developer guarantee that those homes will not be flooded or damaged. The text amendment states the tract may have access on other roads if the Planning and Zoning Commission finds traffic conditions warranted or that it is desirable to facilitate public safety. Again, this statement puts fear in our hearts. We are convinced that 48 Holly, which is mine, I own 95% of the land at the end of the cul-de-sac. And because the statement is in the amendment, we're afraid that the town could take you know, that my property and make a large driveway into this property. If they think it's not safe for the people to go in and out of, you know, the Berlin Turnpike. Yet why else would the statement even be in that amendment? We are again asking for a personalized written letter to all of us on Holly Court that there will never be an entrance and exit from this project into our streets. This would destroy us, since the traffic study cites over 200 trips a day from the project. The amendment requires 20% of the units to be affordable housing. Why is the commission allowing 30%? We request that the developer stick with the 20% requirement. Again, we ask, why is the town not emphasizing affordable home ownership? We still think that taking commercial property off the tax rolls and substituting high-density rental housing is ridiculous. We are again requesting an 8-foot fence on all 3 sides. We need fencing for our safety and security and to lower the visual impact. If the commission can arbitrarily change the zoning from commercial to high-density rental housing, it can certainly change the 6-foot residential fence requirement back to the commercial 8-foot requirement. It's harder to climb an 8-foot fence than a 6-foot. There are 2 areas on the C3 site plan where the fencing needs to be extended. There's a short in the northwest corner, it stops before the end of the property. And in the southwest, over by John's property, it stops where it would meet me. So there again, we're looking for safety and security. We don't want people piling through our yards. It was interesting listening to them talk about this unit in the middle. Yeah, why is the developer now showing a 2-story building for a management office in a community center? I'm a landlord, and there's no reason to have an on-site office or a community center for 18 units. What happened to the open space concept? If there's going to be a dog park in the center, why isn't there a playground? This additional building seems to be the identical size of half a duplex. I would think that there is 100% probability that this building will be changed into a housing unit if it's built. We still think that placing high-density rental housing at 1676 Berlin Turnpike is a terrible idea. We hope that the commission would agree and deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I know you had some stuff that you said that you wanted to give us for the record.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
so,
put it together here.
well, that's okay.
And I will get out of here because I know my neighbors want to talk.
Okay, if you could pass the paper down, because we do have to mark it as received in. Yep. So it becomes part of the file.
I also
Yeah.
comment
Yeah,
that the
please.
sign-in sheet, for the ease of paperwork, I'm gonna leave it at the side of the table. If anyone's talking, to just sign it either before or after talking in the order in which they talk.
Okay, terrific.
So Fran has.
Yeah, this way
Sounds
when they
correct.
do the minutes, they don't have to wonder, you know, who is speaking and stuff like that. So this way they'll have a record of it.
Legible spelling is
yeah.
important, please.
Yeah.
Our secretary,
It's
thank you.
print. All right. Yeah, exactly. Is there anyone, yes, that'd be great. This Brian will take it and he'll stamp it on it. Thank you very much, Ms. Almström.
Just skip a
You're
line.
no problem.
so that-
Hi.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Sorry it took a little while to get to you. All right.
Patty Burchio, 27 Helly Court, Berlin. So echoing Linda's statements, I can't help but ask with concern, how are taxpayers such as ourselves supposed to trust that the board is doing the right thing for the tax-paying citizens when there's been this many errors and oversights? How are we trusting that a major construction development is being done properly and with the neighbor's safety and well-being in mind, especially when there's been this many errors and oversights? It's really, really concerning to us. For the last 11 plus months, we've been stressed with these issues and constant worries. The map, this map.
That's very nice.
It shows our neighborhood prior to all of these headaches, when there was a happier time and less stress for all of us. For this proposed development, based on what's been happening with the storms and the days on end of rain, how do we trust that this drainage system will hold a 100-year storm event? We are asking once again for a guarantee in writing from the town of Berlin or the builder that our property will not flood, and should it flood, that someone other than the homeowner will take responsibility for these damages. I spoke before at Inlands Wetlands. My house is one of the homes that is part of this, that if, you know, the culvert does overflow, and we do have an issue with it. So it's something that we're hoping that you guys will consider. We are disappointed in the way that the whole entire thing has been handled from the beginning, and can't help but wonder if there's other motives to push this project through. The taxpaying citizens aren't being heard, and the ball is being dropped somewhere here at 240 Kensington Road. So I'm wondering who's willing to take responsibility for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next. Oh, gonna give Brian some more work, huh? Okay, Brian, no.
I can just stop on your receipt for the record and we'll stand.
Yeah, you can sample it. You want, okay.
I can put on, I have the folder that says receipt for the record, so we'll just, that way everybody can pay attention.
Okay.
Hi there, my name is Peter Riley and I'm from Pure Parley Row.
Oh.
And I'm just very concerned and been following along with this project just about from its inception, I guess. And anyhow, I find it incomprehensible that a project of this size on less than 2 acres of land is even up for consideration. You know, it's like building 18 homes on a postage stamp. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, no more than 8 to 10 units would be more realistic by far. I'm further shocked that the board members are not able to have a vision to see the reality of how out of proportion this proposal is. One would think that a multitude of neighboring signatures would raise a few questions from P&Z. I believe there were almost 150 concerned citizens and signatures on that were just saying it's just too much house on too little land. Evidently, the signatures didn't hold very much weight or any consideration up to now. Careful scrutiny pertaining to text amendment procedures that were produced in November 16th and 2021 P&Z meeting should have given cause to consider any underhanded lawlessness of demanding all motel owners of the Berlin Turnpike sell only to developers who are building high impact housing. This doesn't seem lawful to me at all. Motel owners should have the ability to sell to whomever they choose and for whatever price that they can get. This is America. It appears as though affordable home ownership has not been given any consideration, but we would be a far greater and a wiser choice for Berlin and also for the homeowners themselves. It would be a gigantic building stone, particularly for our town, but all towns in Connecticut for that matter. We certainly want to meet lawful requirements supplying 10%, which we are rapidly approaching for affordable housing, but we don't need to outdo other towns that have not come even close. The property owning taxpayer has tried very hard to make their voices heard. I don't think there's too much more we can do. It's been a rather lengthy timeline, and hopefully the P&Z board members will make decisions pertaining to this proposal that would realistically consider the tax-paying homeowners' concerns and make adjustments accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Good. John Susanowski from Berlin Auto Center.
Oh, okay.
On the property south of the proposed lawns. I was looking at this map, he had dropped it off, Mr. Snow had dropped this off to you. And I believe you were probably correct in dropping 13 and 14, being as so close to the property. The engineer has it at 25 feet on both ends of it, but on the eastern side, it's only 20 feet. And 8 feet away from the swale. So if we can drop those two, I'm good with that. And also the fence is missing on the southerly side by the pine trees on this plan. And I don't see it up there either on that map. And looking at the building in the middle, proposed management, boy, I tell you, it's starting to look like a motel. All I gotta say.
Okay,
All right.
sweet, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Maureen, any comments at this point? Additional
Well,
comments?
maybe the first thing I'd like to comment on is the response, well, actually, Corporation Council is online, but she has now joined the meeting. However, she did confirm that the change modifications to the plans in responsiveness to public hearing comments are perfectly acceptable. Rather than that being an issue. Again, that's on Chris's phone, because I just figured out how to fix my phone. I do have a number of comments, I think, I'm taking notes. I was trying to take notes as everyone was talking, it is hard to keep up. I do want to comment that, you know, where the procedures and policies of the Planning and Zoning Commission and their department seems to be subject to attack right now, and I want to just go over a few of those things. We were under regulation when the text amendment was proposed and amended. We were under the regulations by the state of Connecticut with regard to posting and everything else. This hearing is not on the text amendment itself as any appeal period where that has well passed. However, it was posted on the ad in accordance. The text amendment was posted and had a public hearing in accordance with the requirements. The town does not, and in my experience has not for many, many years, has used the New Britain Herald to post the land use or the planning department's public hearing notices. We use the New Britain Herald for Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Historic District Commission from our office. It was that way when I started, it was that way for many years before. And I believe that a good portion of that reasoning is to comply with the state statutory deadlines to run the notice twice. The first notice 15 days prior to the public hearing, the second notice at least between 15 and 10 days for the first notice, at least 2 days between the notice, and no less than 2 days before the public hearing for the second notice. So it's run twice. It's in the New Britain Herald. This has been established by the town for many years. So, you know, procedurally, the petition was submitted and I believe distributed to the entire commission as part of this record, as well as stated at previous meetings as part of this record, as well as the record for what we're began to process as an application for an amendment to the regulations. However, amendments have a fee related to them, and we were advised by Corporation Council, or with the agreement of Corporation Council, that the Planning and Zoning Commission, I distributed that to everyone, the Planning and Zoning Commission should not hear that item, and that's why you removed it from the agenda when you had previously scheduled it. We were trying to accommodate, they haven't, the fee has not been submitted. Again, this application came in under the text amendment that was approved last year. We have, the Planning and Zoning Commission also has the information related to the affordable housing plan that has been submitted or approved by the plan, by the town and reported to the state for, with one of the goals is a variety of housing options. And this has been supported as one of those housing options. I currently have on my computer, I pulled up the response from the regional planning agency with regard to supporting the text that we have. And I can redistribute that. I believe it was distributed, but I'll redistribute it as well if you choose to keep the hearing open. Or I can send it to share on the screen, but that might be problematic. We're not sharing my screen, we're sharing Dylan's screen today. The public has had, maybe one of the goals of a community of municipalities, as well as the statutory guidance and regulations, is public participation and comment and transparency. Clearly, the neighbors have come out on this application, have submitted testimony. They've submitted written testimony. I think some of the written testimony you may or may not have got today might have been previously submitted in pretty much the same format. So there are comments that have been made in the past and have been received by the commission, and clearly any with this hearing and the hearings on this item are incorporated into this record. But the I believe that complies with notice. You know, it's clearly the public knows this hearing is going on, despite it was using the Newburgh Herald or any other manner in which it is done. These are the procedural things. Let's see. I want to clarify and correct that the hearing in August, when it was originally scheduled, was an error of the newspaper. The newspaper sent us acknowledgement that it was their error, not noticing it twice. They changed their procedures and staffing, and they only published it once. So we did contact the applicant, and the hearing was postponed to begin on September 1st. And that was through no fault of the town, or the applicant, or the commission. And the sign had been posted. We had evidence of the sign, a picture of the sign was submitted to staff. It was there, it disappeared. He then, as soon as that was called to our attention, reposted it on the fence under our, under my authority as zoning official. We can have the sign, the yellow sign posted where it makes sense, where it's secure and visible. The non-conformity of the hotels runs with the land. So the last use was a motel use. That is the non-conforming use with the land, so it does. So despite the demolition, the use was still motel. That is being, the application is to modify. Another one, two, it's really procedural and, oh, the text amendment. It is my reading of the text amendment, as well as, I believe, the understanding during the public hearing that the amendment does not promote taking of land to create an access, but allows for an existing property that might have access onto different streets, such as a corner lot, or at the north end of the turnpike, we do have a property that, a motel property that has access on the Berlin Turnpike, it has access on Deming Road, but there is a corner lot, so you can't call it a corner lot, where, you know, it may make more sense if that property is redeveloped to go out to Deming Road than the Berlin Turnpike. That would be a matter of review at the time proposal for that property came in, if it was to come in. But that's where the ability to access from another road is not to obtain access by taking a property, but to allow properties that have frontage to utilize their frontage, even if it's on another road besides the Berlin Turnpike. And the text also allows an option for redeveloping of motel properties, not this is the way motel properties need to be developed. They are still the BT1 zone. BT1 zoning still applies if someone chose to come in with not a planned infill development. This is a type of development that's now allowed within the BT1 zone under the specific regulations. And I know some of the commission members, probably, and maybe even all of you, understand these procedures, but I just want to put it out there on the record, and I know that we have some new members who were not involved in the initial hearings. The site plan changes, of course, you know, they probably have additional comments on that. I was right now discussing the procedural. I can get my thoughts together. Give me a few minutes on other comments, but
Okay.
I did overall, I believe this applicant has, the engineer has redesigned the plan in response to the comments and the comments made and the concerns demonstrated. The ability to have a variety of housing stock is something that we have in the affordable housing plan, as well as the plan of conservation and development. And this is an option that allows for a variety of housing stock. Oh, and the modifications to the plan, as you know, most of your motions are with conditions or modifications to the plan. That includes before permitting, making sure that the charts and the dates on the plans and everything has been reflected all the way up through every update to the last meeting, because presumably they're very often at a meeting, you approve a plan with modifications, it's gonna get another revision date, the charts and everything else gets updated again, and we spend a lot of time then reviewing those plans before they go to permit to make sure that plan that's finalized is in accordance with the.
All right, Commissioner Rogan.
Yeah, just on that note, the reason that we made this a special permit too was so that it didn't sneak by the neighbors. Being a special permit, everybody within 500 feet has to get that notification. It has to be, the sign has to be put on the property. We wanted you guys here, we wanted the public input. The special permit allows you to come up, talk to us. This wasn't something that we were just doing as an act of right, which would allow the applicant to just come up and talk to us directly without any notification. Because this was a new amendment, a new idea for this town, we were concerned with how the neighbors felt about it, which is why we chose the path of special permit rather than just a site plan application.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Yes, I do not doubt that it was noticed properly. Even when we found out there was a mistaken notice, we corrected that. And all with that said, with this proposed development that we have and infill developments, this was discussed many a times at our meetings. It was an idea that came in basically my mind that was instituted in California, small little houses, different style houses on a little bit of property. And it was coming up to improve the properties that are existing. With that, we did study this a lot. Matter of fact, we had a economic development person look at every motel site in the area. We figured out exactly how many potential units could be put on a property. But my understanding of it is a little different than what the developer's doing at this time. The concept was single family, little house. Probably a little name of this, little house living, is what the concept was supposed to be. And when we figured this out, we figured out how many units can be put on the property. We took up the number of units that were in developed hotel area, motel lots, underneath the development, what the number can be. It basically came out to the number of units that were on the property already, maybe with a bonus of 2 units. That's what this concept, and if I look at the purpose of this concept written right here from our planner, and it's in our development now. Development of a concept of individual lots and structures to the planning and development of small areas with groups of structures erected therein and coordinated entirety to provide more efficient to existing parcels. Individual lots, individual homes. This is developed past that. Okay, it's gone to duplex houses. It's gone to a different development that was planned by the zoning change that we did for infill. It's not a zoning change, it's something they can do on the property besides what the zoning says they can do on the property as special permit. And that's what our concept of the development was. Single family residential homes concept was, in my mind, single family residential home for sale, individual lots. That's what the purpose says here. And it's not rentals. But still, single family individual houses, someone can buy the house and rent it. So that's a thing that may be questionable if someone buys all the houses and rents them all. Same use as a motel, rental units. The separate, okay. So the use of the property was single family residential, not duplexes. We've taken duplexes out of most of our zoning in town of Berlin, especially the little zoning, the R7, R15, R11.
Yeah.
Right, zonings, duplexes been taken out. So this duplex thing is more, to me, a condo development. It's not the single family residential zone that this infill concept that we had. So it's actually You know, when I saw it the first one, it had single family houses, 1 or 2 duplexes. I really didn't think too much about it. But when I see duplexes like this, and I read the purpose of our change, it's way out of line with what we originally concepted. So if the units had, if this property had 10 units, I don't know what the total number was, because some of those old buildings were taken down. Whatever the original was, okay, maybe it's 10 units, maybe it's 12. Maybe the concept would allow 14 single-family residential homes. That's my opinion of the development, and this is not what we ended up with.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Can I just comment on that?
Yes, Mr. Snow.
Well, the single family concept was originally what I would have rather have done, but as this has progressed, you can't in a regulation pick and choose what you want. If I needed to have a single family resident complete there, I would have to be closer to the property, to the neighbors, closer to the side yard. The current regulation allows for a 15-foot rear buffer. We're at 45 feet. So having the regulation, you can't just say this is what it should be. It has to, we have some flexibility. This is what I've tried to present, and to work with the neighbors and work with the town, work with everyone to come up with something. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's something that, well, like I had said once before, compromise, everybody kind of is unhappy, which means it's a good thing. But that was one thing. The other thing I'd like to take a little bit of a response to some of the neighbors saying that this is that we did anything underhanded or anything along those lines. They had said there was a 30% affordable housing. We are offering 4 units, which is actually 22%. But I don't know where the 30% comes in as far as the number of affordable units. And as far as one other comment that was over on the wetlands, when we originally did the survey, there is no wetlands on our property. It is on adjacent property. So that was missed, and it was brought to the town attention, and we went through our application and applied to wetlands. So we followed every procedure once it was there. There was no trying to hide anything. It wasn't anything like that. It was a survey. There was no wetlands. I didn't think to call the next door or to go and survey on someone else's property for wetlands, which we did, and we had to get permission to do that. So that's a little bit different on the background. I just wanted to, there's nothing underhanded. We work with the town staff. We try to work with the neighbors as well. And as far as proposing the regulation, I was one of the ones who came in and said, this is what we want to do, and paid for to have an attorney and get the amendment and have it done. And for your commissioners' comments, I would love to go single family, but in order to do that, I would have to be closer to what they do.
I would have to just comment on that, then the single family residential would have been a lower number of units.
But it would still be close to the, closer to the neighbors.
Economics are really not the force of the commission. It's what the gist of the infill development was, and what this is 2 different developments, and I agree with you. It is 2 different developments. It's, and through the procedures here, it's changed. And you responded to every change, and that is true. And there was nothing underhanded by you or the town. And I actually I'm seeing developers that would be a little underhanded there. But we have not seen that here. Okay. What the finished product is right now is not, my thinking is not the concept of the development that was proposed by you.
What I would say to respond, on Monday night, I was also at the Economic Development Commission meeting and reviewed that with them. And they felt that it met the concerns, and then I would have Chris comment on that, just so I'm not sure anyway. So we were there, and they had also endorsed this text amendment, but that's all I can say. I just want to make sure that from me working with the commission, there's been nothing underhanded,
That's not something,
No, I-
not at all,
I
not at all,
We
you
can
know,
try
and
that.
I'm.
Because that's a public statement when they make it, and I
I
don't.
would not make that, I would not never make that statement. You've been responsive to every comment. But as far as I'm concerned, it's changed.
Yeah.
It's changed, you know, and that's all my concern is. It's not what the concept that we had in our mind at the time we proposed this change. Is, you know, so, you know, because I had that concern in my mind because my mother-in-law owned the property she don't own it no more, she's dead. But she had a property and we wanted to know what the concepts that we could do on that property, you know, and that came to the head, you know, and now we had it, but.
Well, I understand what Commissioner Zigma is saying, because you go into a project and with a text amendment, you have one vision in mind. And when you actually get to the point where you start to see it on paper, it morphs into something else other than what your perception, your conceived
That's
notion
everything,
is.
and I think that's what we ended up to try to make everybody happy.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe it doesn't start similar to the concept, but
yeah.
it's not exactly what I had in mind when I started either.
Well, I doubt we're gonna come to any kind of resolve here tonight, that's for sure. And, Maureen, how are we doing with time? As far as.
10:08, we did just get a chat, somebody asked us about hearing, but, which we responded to, and just for everyone's, in case anyone else has seen the chat, we did respond that we'll respond, to things with concerns to how people can hear and how to access information, but that that to ask a question, they have to go and speak, ask you to speak, and we do have someone that I told.
Okay.
We would let you know is asking to speak.
Okay.
Or is
well,
waiting to speak.
Yep, and we will,
And then
okay, and do we wanna?
I have other comments, but I can make
All
them
right, well, I
later,
know,
it's up
well,
to.
you don't wanna,
to-
okay. Oh, yeah, let's take whoever's online and let's hear what they have to say.
All right, so, do you remember what her name was? Sorry.
Her name is Sonia Ursioli. This is Jennifer Capola, your counsel. Sonia Ursioli is her name.
Okay, all right, terrific. Sonia, are you there?
I am here, but my camera doesn't work. Is that going to be an issue?
No, not at all. As long as you can hear us and we can hear you. Can
Okay,
you-
I just have a question. My volume keeps going in and out, so I just wanted to clarify. It sounded like he stated that in order for single family, they'll have to push back closer to the property line. I might be misunderstanding him. I apologize. But the original drawings that he had up, parallel to Holly Court, it was all duplexes, and that was already 15 feet. So if he's stating that single family would have to be closer and duplexes can be farther away, I don't get why he originally had it that close to begin with in the first place. So, I mean, it just looks like there's very many houses there. I mean, I do agree single family would be a lot better if that were to happen, but maybe I misunderstood him. I'm sorry. I just wanted a clarification.
No need to apologize. Sonia, can I just ask you for your address, please, for the record? Or
17 Holly Court.
Okay, thank you, Sonia.
You're welcome.
Did Mr. Snow want to address the comment by Ms. Sonia?
Ms. Sonia, what I was trying to say, that if we went back to just doing all single families, that in order to make the roadway and the separation of the houses, all the properties would end up being closer to the property line. So I didn't, and it wasn't based on any application, it was just something that I was responding to one of the commission members.
Sonia, did you hear your response, the response to your question or concern?
I did. So he's stating in order to make it single family, he would have to make the spaces in the roadways bigger.
Between each unit or each building, yes, we have to have 10 feet. With a duplex, now you lose that 10 feet. So now you're doing all single families, going to be gaining 10 feet. Just the spacing of the homes would have to be greater, take up more space,
What's the space needed? Because
What's the
duplexes
space
are-
needed?
10 feet between you.
What the duplexes are right now.
We're not proposing that, it was just a example. So, I'm sorry for the
That was
confusion.
just a hypothetical.
Okay.
Maureen?
Just as far as the regulation itself goes, when they're in the regulation, it says, and I'm choosing one small snippet, but additional requirements, A, where dwelling units are to be individually owned, a community association must be established. So it's not, the regulation doesn't say that they have to be individual home ownership. The regulation was allowing for rental units as well as individual, a development where a property owner owned the whole complex or a condominium to be formed. So it was either way.
Located with the single family. Duplex or-
I'll keep looking for where that is. It's dwelling units. We do from the processing standpoint and review for the code, single and two family fall into the category of not multifamily dwelling units when even whether they're attached or not. So it's still that category. 3 units together bumps it to a multifamily category for the purposes of fire code and building code. 1 and 2 is allowed. I don't think it's precluded by the regulation, but I'm looking specifically for that while listening. However, and I think we would have found it, and I don't think the developer would have proposed it, seeing as he worked with the attorney to develop this proposed regulation when it came in the first place. But the from the evaluating property standpoint, the homeownership is certainly something that we are looking at. Our affordable housing plan, is saying options for homeownership, but also options for other types of housing units. But we also cannot control if a investor came in to any kind of development or any multifamily housing unit and bought half the units, all the units, and then rented them. We wouldn't, just like a single family home, we can't control if someone buys a single family home and rents it out. We have no control as a town, as a, the government, we don't have control over that.
I'm not sitting here reading the full text, but I am reading the purpose of it, which said individual lots and all. So, that's what I remember. Oh, boy.
So I'm gonna, can I read the purpose? I'll read it out loud so everyone can hear it.
Yep, please
Okay,
do.
I'll read the whole purpose and that way I don't have to try to process it at the same time as I'm reading it. The intent of this section is to provide an economic incentive for the redevelopment of existing motel properties which are considered inefficient and underperforming by contemporary land use standards. This section provides standards and procedure for the design and development of planned residential infill developments in an effort to expand the scope of land planning and development from the concept of individual lots and structures to the planning and development of small areas with groups of structures erected thereon as a coordinated entity, and to provide for more efficient use of existing parcels and town resources, but is not intended to facilitate the conversion of non-residential uses, but to redevelop motel uses into permanent dwellings in their entirety, and no mobile home trailer units are permitted. That's only the purpose, but it's that small section of the regulations. So the development of, I would focus on the development of small areas with groups of structures erected thereon as a coordinated entity. Would be my response to the comment, but again, we agree.
You've heard me.
You all can read one sentence. That's gonna make a difference that you do. That's so sure.
Well, I think the key word in the sentence regarding individual lots and structures is the word from. This section provides standards and procedures for the design and development of planned residential infill developments in an effort to expand the scope of land planning and development from the concept of individual lots and structures to the planning and development of small areas with groups of structures erected thereon as a coordinated entity, and to provide for more efficient use of existing parcels and town resources. But it is not intended to facilitate the conversion of non-residential uses, but to redevelop motel uses into permanent dwellings.
Yes, David.
I did have one follow-up question.
Okay.
And I apologize, it's my fault, I didn't notice this earlier, the middle structure that is a group is 2 stories. Does it need to be a 2-story building?
The reason I did it as a 2 stories, everything else in the development is a 2-story, so I was also matching it from a use side on the, well, there was a comment that you don't need an office, but I was doing upstairs as the office and downstairs was the common space, so office could be, we need a new tenant where you go through something. I've always found that rather than having to go back to my office in Cromwell, would be great to have an office space there, so that's why I created 2 stories. But does it necessarily 100% have to be? If you said, hey, I'm gonna approve it, it's 1 story, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the square foot, it seems very similar to the
It's
duplex
it's
size that.
exactly the same. We took half the duplex and did it. And the other part that does have is a garage for storage of lawn equipment, snowplow, snow blowers, which is, again, something that a truck doesn't have to come in for a storm. If the roads are closed, I have an ability to clear that property.
Well, thank you for
Okay. What, I'm sorry?
People are talking.
Oh, okay, all right, excuse me. Excuse me, because it's all gonna be catching on the recording. Is there something that you wanna share with the commission? Either one of you, it's now the time to talk. All
I
right,
just was worried
Okay.
about the recording because it is hard to hear.
all right, and I'm looking at this and I'm not, this is just, I mean, I know we're in the final stages of some discussion here or whatever. And as I reiterated, I don't believe that we're in a position to make any kind of decision tonight regarding this application, one way or another. But a couple of things that I noted, and this is taking what Mr. Zigmont has brought to light regarding the purpose of the regulation. And so looking at the plan before us and seeing if you can find a common ground. My thought process is that you have, and this is going back to 13 and 14, because they're very close to the business, which of course is automotive repair, auto body shop. And so they can be a little bit noisy or loud or whatever. But eliminating 13 and 14, eliminating the office community area, that building. Now, what you could do where 13, 14 is, and perhaps put like a shed-like area in there. So if you do need snow removal equipment or whatever, lawnmower equipment or whatever, or rakes, that would be a place that you would have for a center, so to speak. Because I'm assuming whoever is going to be doing this office rental, hypothetical office rental, would not be living there, but would be coming to work there. So they're not in need of any kind of homemaking facility, so to speak. And then my other thought is that you have a 2-story building, so that basically, guys, I'm gonna turn to you because I'm terrible at numbers, so I'm thinking it's at least gonna be about 20 or 22 feet in height, 2-story building, because you figure what? We figure about 10 feet for each floor, if not 12. So you figure about 24-foot building. So as you look at the duplexes, we're allowing for 10 feet between the duplexes, but the building is going to be going up 24 feet. So with that in mind, and going back to what Mr. Zigma brought to light, why not just make each one of these duplexes just a single family home? Now, you don't have to push them back to the neighbors. You can actually just leave them where they are and do a very nice little job indeed. My other thought was looking at the fence. It was suggested that there was going to be a white vinyl fence. White vinyl fences are great the first day you put them up, but as time goes on, they have a tendency to get moldy. They have a tendency to get the algae growing on it, and they get nasty looking. They're not really pleasant. Estate fencing is better, especially since you're going to be doing all this wonderful landscaping and stuff and filling out the lower sections to buffer the neighbors. So estate fencing perhaps with a block wall underneath, so even at height, 2 feet of block, estate fencing straight up, black, just it all kind of hides into the greenery. And that could wrap around and be quite nice. But these are just my sense, my feelings on this project. We have a lot going on here on a little piece of property, and just taking to effect quality of life, taking effect the neighbors and their quality of life, and how to make a compromise. But whatever we decide to do ultimately with the commission on this particular project, it is a special permit. So a special permit is always held to a higher standard than a normal application coming into the zone. So, but maybe I said too much today, I don't know. But those were my thoughts, just looking at it, just hearing some different testimony for today. Anyone else have any comments at this point? Oh, Mr. Reg.
Chris Edge, 240 Kensington Road. I think initially when this had come through economic development, I don't believe we were looking at necessarily single-family homes ownership on every property. I don't know if necessarily that was the full intent. I think it was more the redevelopment and giving also opportunities for the multifamily, knowing the fact that right now we don't have, the biggest thing I look at right now, we don't have the workforce to help our employers grow. I saw this being an opportunity for that as well. Not necessarily all single family homes on a small lot. And I think that the concept is great. But I think part of it is the cost of construction now also makes things incredibly difficult. I know you had mentioned affordable home ownership. It's a great concept. The problem is with the cost of construction, the cost of land, it's not possible in a town like Berlin. Oh, sorry. And I think that the idea again was to do a redevelopment of some type. I don't necessarily know if the Little Houses concept was exactly what economic development was thinking. I think we were looking more, okay, can we do a higher and better use for the properties? I think what Mr. Snow has come up with is what works with the property, probably works economically wise. Again, and I don't know the single family market because I don't sell houses.
Yeah.
But I do know that I don't know whether or not single houses or whatever X many houses on here would be a market. I don't actually know, but I think from a perspective of what we've seen, especially from the first building down to the train station, is there's definitely a great interest and need for the apartments. And I know that's the one thing we have seen from our standpoint, the fact that that can be really helpful, particularly if it is done in a way that is beneficial.
Yeah.
So that's really where we with. I don't think necessarily.
Beneficial, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the big thing is with it.
Mhm.
But that's sort of, that was kind of the input when we hit it. Tax matter
Yeah.
initiative.
Okay, all right, anyone, last slice of the apple?
I'll take one little last bite. I don't have the text amendment in front of me, but I do remember us writing it, and that thing that said, we have to consider the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhoods, surrounding zones. So that's why I do take the testimony that we've heard here seriously from not only the residential to one side, but also the commercial to the other side. So, and I do agree with Chairwoman Neely that I think that the community center, I think maybe gazebo in place of that would be much better suited. That way, if you were to drive into it, it wasn't just a big building sitting in the middle. And I do think that 13 and 14 are too close to the commercial property on the side there. Still feels too congested to meet the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhoods. I don't know how that is from a financial standpoint, by validity. I understand there's challenges there, but it's still, it's a lot of units on a very small piece of property.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, just last grab it here? Okay, the hour is getting late, and maybe I should make a straw poll. Do you want to continue this until the next meeting?
I'm gonna do a quick calculation, if you bear with me before you make a motion, so I can count days and the number of extension days left.
Okay, thank
You don't mind?
No, not at all.
Badly over.
Not at all.
So 21 of 65 extension days have been used by my calculations.
21
of 65 that are available for the applicant to agree to having used. So I might suggest, and again, that it's a one option if he's willing to consider, or wants time to think about what you said, and or you close the hearing, then you think about what's happened. So those are the.
Well, I'm just
the
afraid that
items.
if we close the hearing tonight, my concern is that if we want further testimony or something, now we shut the door for us to ask for anything. So that would be my concern for leaving the public hearing open.
And I'm not opposed to extension, I think that's what you were asking
Yeah,
for, yes. I'm
yeah.
not opposed to extension.
So when would this, if we're gonna continue this public hearing, if that's what's.
So to the next hearing, you use 14 more, you have plenty of time to continue it to the next hearing.
Oh, okay, so do we want to put this on for November or whatever? Third?
You have 44 days left, so yeah.
All right.
So it's November.
So we continue it to the next meeting? Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to table this to the next.
Okay, see you at the next meeting. We have a second by Ms. Dorsey. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So we're going to continue it next meeting. All right, thank you. But at least you heard our concerns or whatever. Go from there.
And I think just before, I know the public hearing is still open, but back to how this meeting started, if we take some of your comments and make changes, I'm assuming that you decided that is still a continuation of the same application, correct?
Yes, exactly. Okay. All right. Okay, all right, so we have just a little bit more of the agenda to do. No, we go anywhere. We have to finish. If I can find my agenda. No, hang on.
Long day.
I have the agenda somewhere. Oh, no, I think I got it. I have my little footnotes on there. Okay, so out of the public hearings on the old business, so the Little House is continued. Berlin Turnpike Association continued, Berlin Turnpike continued, special plan for the, for the Quantum Berlin 2 LLC. And what did we do with that? We continued, okay, thank you. All right, continued again, all right. Planner comments, do you have anything you'd like to say to us besides probably be this for the, do you want the gavel?
Good night, go home.
Yeah,
No,
you can
Not
if you
at
want.
this hour.
Motion to go home.
I think I'm good.
I'm almost ready for
Oh,
you.
but Aja looks like she wants to say something.
Yes.
I just, we want home now, but we don't argue that much.
Oh,
Please tell George we said hello.
No.
We miss him.
If he listens to this, he's gonna say, what
No,
did you do?
oh, no, well, you know what, that was the icebreaker.
Let's
for
go
the
to your
evening.
neighbor's house and find
That was the icebreaker for the evening. I know Steve Biella is online, so, you know, hi Steve, how you doing? Steve, you gotta come in and join the party next time. Anyway, Maureen has some quick comments, and I think, no, she doesn't have any comments. She's gonna yell at me tomorrow. Chris, what do you have?
I guess I do have one comment. We have gotten an agreement with zoning enforcement officer, so they should be starting in mid-November.
Whoa.
So,
Are they,
What?
is Dylan?
Interview them? Yes.
Yeah,
As well as
it's gonna be
other
awesome.
staff.
Guy,
So
no, what?
it's been a housing.
Guy, good. We need more
Housing
guys.
maintenance in another community.
Oh, good. Is he coming
He
out?
can hold his own.
Well, we know it's
Is
long
this,
overdue.
is this guy, yeah, is this guy coming from a different town? or-
Another community, yeah.
Oh, really? Can we ask?
He's familiar with Workshop.
Oh, good.
I'd rather make sure the contracts are all
All right,
signed,
okay.
his agreement to be employed has been, but I would rather, I don't know if that's proper or not, I'd
No,
rather
that's
the
fine.
Don't wanna-
HR tell me what I can talk about.
What do you have in the box?
I have business cards.
Don't wanna risk anything.
For
yet.
us?
But we like facilitate homepage.
I've been watching that side.
The meeting hasn't been adjourned yet, but
Okay,
everybody
all right.
realizes.
So, all right, so, with that, I'll ask for an adjournment at 10:33.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Oaken, second. Thank you, Ms. Diane, for the discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. All right, good night, Steve.
4 o'clock alarm clock.
Good night.